Right now in Ottawa, 5 degrees. In Smith Falls, 6. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Hurricane Fiona forecast to bring severe winds and as much as 200 millimeters of rain to portions of Atlantic Canada and eastern Quebec. Environment Canada meteorologist Rob Robichaud says potentially historic storm is also expected to cause widespread power outages along the east coast. Fiona is pounding Bermuda this morning. It's on track to reach Nova Scotia waters by tonight before passing through the province's eastern mainland, Cape Breton, and Prince Edward Island by tomorrow. Then Fiona will move on to Quebec's lower North Shore and southeastern Labrador. That is expected early on Sunday. Now, a major concern with this storm is not only the wind and the rain, but what happens right along the coast. And with that story, here's City News reporter Steve Gow.
A massive storm surge will thrash most coastlines in eastern Nova Scotia, the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and other parts of the region. Coinciding with near high tide on Saturday morning, Fiona's arrival could wash out roads, cause significant erosion and flooding, with up to 12-meter high waves expected to slam into most coastal regions in Atlantic Canada. For City News, I'm Steve Gow.
City News time, 9:01, and now your forecast. Here's meteorologist Jill Taylor.
It's a cool start to our Friday. Temperatures close to the freezing mark in some areas. The high today just 13 degrees. Sun and cloud, a brisk wind out of the northwest. Clear and continuing cool tonight down to 5. And for the weekend, sunshine a bit warmer Saturday 18. Some showers on Sunday and 15. For today, the high 13.
And right now it's 5 degrees in Ottawa, 6 degrees in Smith Falls. One driver arrested by Ottawa police early this morning after they attempted to flee after going onto a road they weren't supposed to be on in the first place. Police say the driver was impaired and turned onto a closed portion of Wellington in front of Parliament. The vehicle moved very quickly eastbound and struck a cement jersey barrier, causing significant damage to the vehicle. Now, the driver apparently was not hurt because managed to get out of that vehicle and attempt to flee. That driver was caught and taken into custody. Ontario education workers represented by CUPE are starting to vote today on whether or not they're going to strike, something their union is recommending they vote yes. The province's 5 major education unions are all in the midst of bargaining for a new contract with the province. Now, CUPE has made Ontario's initial offer public, and they call that insulting. Laura Walton is president of CUPE's Ontario School Board Council of Unions and says there has been a lack of progress at the bargaining table.
The Central Committee, the OSBCU Bargaining Committee, has asked for a positive strike vote in relation to, the strike vote had already been called, but definitely yesterday really firmed up why that strike vote was really necessary.
Now, CUPE is looking for an annual increase of 11.7%. City News time, 9:03. It's a scene straight out of the movie Armageddon. NASA is going to crash a spacecraft into a giant asteroid. Monday, NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, will be deliberately crashed into a 160-meter wide asteroid. The goal, not to blow it up, but knock it off course. Here's reporter Gina Sinceri.
This is about 6.8 million miles away, so it's way out there. And we know there are about 30,000 of these out there that we know about. It's ones we don't know about that we should be afraid of. But there are about 30,000 of these that they track pretty much all the time to see if there's anything that we should be worried about.
Now, for scientists, this will be the first real data about what might be needed to steer an asteroid out of Earth's path and reduce the odds that we humans go the way of the dinosaur. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Your opinion.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Friday. We made it. A little on the chilly side. But we're not in Nova Scotia. And be thankful for that. And say a little prayer for my father that his house is still standing come Sunday morning. And good morning. Welcome to the Rob Snow Show on City News as we approach the end of another busy work week in the news business. And we have a lot to talk about between now and noon. Derek Fage coming right up. host of Daytime Ottawa on Rogers Television. Going to get into the municipal election campaign. More announcements this week from some of the leading contenders in the mayor's race. Mark Sutcliffe on transportation. He was on our show yesterday. Catherine McKenney on climate change. And that announcement from McKenney, for me, the much more interesting announcement. Because it would be nice to know how much this candidate plans to tax property owners to achieve net zero emissions by the year 2050. What is the price tag for going green in the city of Ottawa? In addition to the $250 million bike lane plan. For example, what will it cost to have every single new building in Ottawa net zero by the year 2030, which is in less than 8 years from now? How much will that add to the cost of a new home? With the city already in a dire housing affordability crisis. Net zero by 2050, it's being called a bold plan. I don't quite see it that way. This is status quo. Net zero by 2050 is status. It's announced all over the place. Governments all over the place are making this pledge. And it's very much status quo for longtime insiders at Ottawa City Hall, like Councillor McKenney. Net zero by 2050 is already the climate target for emissions for the city of Ottawa. Has been for a long time under the city's climate change master plan. Passed by the city council. And in fact, under that plan, the city's own operations, running public transit, having police cars and ambulances and fire trucks and garbage trucks and snow plows and sidewalk plows, all the kinds of things that it takes, to run a city 24 hours a day. All of that is supposed to be net zero by the year 2040, not 2050. So is the councillor pushing that target back? They're just targets anyway. Targets. What good are targets? If it's one thing longtime politicians are good at, it's making targets for reducing greenhouse gases and then blowing right through them. It's the Canadian way. One thing we'll talk about with Derek Fage this morning. I'll try not to do most of the talking. Then, he's been minding Ottawa's business all week long. Tom Korski, managing editor, Blacklock's reporter. He is the guy in the bowels of Parliament Hill. Reading reports you never even knew were written. Attending committee hearings you never knew were scheduled. And filing endless access to information requests. So you know more about the wild, wacky, and weird ways your government spends your money. Some doozy stories this week. Listen to this. Listen to this. A police blacklist of bank account holders named as Freedom Convoy sympathizers was emailed to lobbyists. Lobbyists? Not emailed to other police services, not emailed to the OPP, not emailed to CSIS. No. Emailed to lobbyists. Names, birth dates, phone numbers, personal information by unencrypted email sent to lobby groups like the Mutual Fund Dealers Association, a lobby group, the Canadian Bankers Association, lobby group. Heck of a scoop. That's why Tom Korski joins us every week. He'll fill in the blanks. Going to talk about some federal politics this morning as well. The showdown on the Hill yesterday. Poilievre meets Trudeau face-to-face. Question period for the first time since Poilievre's big win. This is a little bit of what it sounded like yesterday in the House.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Leader of the Liberal Party has an opportunity to respect the fact that heating your home in January and February in Canada is not a luxury. And it does not make those Canadians polluters. They're just trying to survive. This from a Prime Minister who burned more jet fuel in 1 month than 20 average Canadians burn in an entire year. So will the Prime Minister ground the jet, park the hypocrisy, and axe the tax hikes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we're going to continue to stay focused on direct and real help for Canadians, responding to the challenges they're facing with meaningful measures that are going to help millions of Canadians in the middle class and those working hard to join it. If Canadians had followed the advice of the Leader of the Opposition and invested in volatile cryptocurrencies in an attempt to, quote, opt out of inflation, they would have lost half of their savings. Mr. Speaker, responsible leadership means stepping up.
They love that line about Bitcoin, using that against Poilievre. Bitcoin's down again this morning. Hate to break that to you, Noah. Noah's he's a Bitcoin mogul. Just below $19,000 U.S. This morning. It's down about 60% so far this year. I wonder if that's going to hurt Poilievre, or is that something that's so kind of outside the mainstream that maybe people really don't care about it? Here's what I would do if I was Poilievre, the Conservatives. This is what I would do. Forget this stuff about crypto and start focusing on what's going on with our currency. Okay? The Canadian dollar. Turn it right around and point out to the Prime Minister this morning that our dollar is barely worth 74 cents U.S. this morning. It's like barely hanging on to 74 cents U.S. this morning. It's down about 8-9% this year. At a time when inflation is running at 7%, our dollar is down about 8-9%. And food inflation is 10%. And we had the food professor on this week. Professor Sylvain Charlebois was on our show this week from Dalhousie University in Halifax. And he said, our weak currency is going to make it very, very difficult this winter at the grocery store because we're losing our purchasing power to import food. Yeah, if I was Poilievre and the Conservatives, I'd turn that right around on the Liberals. Crypto? Who cares about crypto? What about the dollars in my bank account, which seem every day to be able to buy less and less stuff? So that's in the mix. And so are you. During the Friday Free-for-All Talk Back Hour between 10 and 11 o'clock at 750-1310. It's our favorite hour of the week around here. We don't come up with the topics. We've been doing that all week. Today it's your turn. And whether it's in the news, not in the news, big breaking news, minor news, we're open to it. Race for mayor, health care, Queen's Park, Parliament Hill, City Hall, potholes, light rail, bike lanes, climate change, carbon taxes, whatever suits your fancy. You don't have to twist my arm to bend my ear on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by Raven Reads. Unbox Indigenous voices. Subscribe today at ravenreads.org.
Sometimes, for a wish to come true, it takes a kingdom Because together is stronger. Tied tight, united we stand. In honor of one child's wish. To fuel the fire that will grant many more. Join the kingdom.
Our ancestors came here from France to build a better life. We lived here happily for generations. Until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything, regardless. We were forced from Acadie, the only home we knew. Mon Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763, over 10,000 Acadians were ripped from their homeland. Despite this, Acadian culture endures in Atlantic Canada.
Enjoy the fresh outdoors. Play an important role in the lives of school-age children. Get paid to make a difference in your community. Become a crossing guard. We are currently recruiting crossing guards for the school year. We offer a competitive wage with various perks and opportunities for bonuses. Join the Ottawa Safety Council in keeping kids safe in the nation's capital. Find out more at crossing-guard.ca.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
The houseless crisis, because it really is a crisis down here on Rideau Street. There is not enough shelters for men especially, and we need to be helping our most vulnerable.
Strong opinions.
Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Derek Fage is the host of Daytime Ottawa on Rogers Television, here a little early today because he's going to the doctor. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
Go
Thank
get
you
poked
so much
and
for
prodded.
Accommodating me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no. Friday's not the same without you, buddy. I have to fit you in. It was nice to see you in person yesterday. It was nice to see you in person yesterday.
Nice to see you over at Rogers TV yesterday.
Yeah, I walked into this cavernous room where it looks like literally hundreds of people used to work, and the only employee there was Derek Fage, working hard. Ready
the
for
old
his
open concept, that so many businesses turn to, and I wonder if there are regrets for doing that.
Good week.
Yeah, great week, Rob. I mean, you know me well enough that I'm a people person. I love to be around people. I get energy from people, and to be back in person in studio and have the green room full of guests. And then our volunteers more than anything back in. It's just been fantastic. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and it's been a great start to back in person. We did a lot of usual things that you do around this time of year, fall recipes, tips for cold, flu, and now we're probably including COVID season in that as well. Glebe Collegiate 100-year reunion weekend coming up. My dad's an alumni, so
all right. Okay.
Pretty excited about that. A couple of big fundraisers too, right? It's Smile Cookie Week. Snowsuit Fund set a record last year, so they're hoping to break that record this year. And the Chio Dream of a Lifetime Lottery's back. Their early bird is, I think, tonight. Actually, it is. It's tonight at midnight. So
is it? Okay.
People are interested in that. Get in on that. And other than that, just some great events that are happening in the city. We had a lot of fun so far this week, and looking forward to today.
Okay. Competing visions for the city are beginning to emerge. We had the transportation plan for Mark Sutcliffe. Mark Sutcliffe was with me yesterday morning, and Catherine McKenney on climate change. Your thoughts, please.
So, looking at, you're right, they are competing. Mark is, I think, really playing to that suburban, rural resident with his plans for adding, $100 million for better road maintenance, snow clearing, Modernizing OC Transpo. I think both Catherine McKenney and Mark are pretty much on the same level with that. Probably not the same amount of money to be spent on it, but modernizing it's going to be difficult. I mean, it's easy to say, but people that want to just get to the grocery store and back home, that it's easy to schedule that, but how many people are going to be on those buses? Because part of the complaints is that, I see empty buses in my neighborhood. Well, quite frankly, if we get that schedule where people are going to the grocery store and back, we may see much of the same. Now, do I think it's necessary? It probably is, Rob, because what we've done now is broken, and you've mentioned it many times on the show, is the fact that we've built a system to bring people from the burbs to downtown, and that has to change for sure. And I think, on Mark's side, you have to be a little bit careful. We don't want to be pitting the suburbs and rural residents against, sort of the rest of the city of Ottawa. I think that's always a danger.
Yeah.
Mark brought up the pothole hotline, which
I love that.
I thought we had one. Don't we have one already?
I don't know.
I mean, you can fill out a form online. I know that.
Oh, okay,
I guess
right.
the hotline part is right now is you call 311 and you report the pothole and you tell them where it is. Catherine, when I look at what they've proposed for the climate change, sort of her climate platform, creating a chief climate officer position, that might not be a bad idea. I think it's very responsible for each candidate to certainly have a thorough climate strategy, right, with the storms that we've seen, the tornado.
Right. Yeah.
Mark.
Because if we don't have a climate strategy, we won't have storms?
No, not necessarily, but I mean, there's things we can do, right? I mean, municipal at the city level, we burn a lot of fossil fuels at a city level, so there are changes we can do. We can green buildings, we can bring in, electric vehicles and so forth. So, I mean, I think it's important.
Well, let me ask you this.
Rob, everyone's talking about it, right?
Yeah, but are they talking about it with their head screwed on right? I guess that would be my point. Like, for example, you're right. The city has a lot of buildings with natural gas, right? So, so the largest consumer of natural gas for city facilities, do you want to take a guess? The city building that uses the most natural gas. Do you want to just take it?
Oh, boy. I don't know. It can't be City Hall.
No, it's the bus garage on Saint Laurent.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how are you going to heat that building?
Yeah, but there's other things.
Come on. How are you going to heat that building?
No. I mean,
right? You want to green the building.
We still need to to use natural gas.
And should the bus drivers and the mechanics and everybody else who works at the Saint Laurent bus garage, what are they supposed to do? Wear parkas?
No.
Work in parkas all winter long? Like this is what I mean. I put this to Ecology Ottawa, and I got nothing but silence on the other end of the phone.
Right.
Like you have to think. Well, we're going to green a building. Okay. Tell me how you're going to heat the bus garage on Saint Laurent.
No, I don't disagree
February.
with you there. I don't disagree with you there. I think what you need to do is you need to begin. Well, certainly new builds. Rob, you know that we can do a much better job in insulating. We have better technology now. I'm not certainly proposing something like the bus garage. We can do much with it, but you can retrofit some buildings. Obviously, there's an investment up front, and you have to calculate it with whether that investment is going to be worth it down the road.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, I want to do some lighter stuff here.
Okay.
Because you're getting me all worked up, and it's Friday, and it's been a long week.
Well, and the other thing, Rob, is I think what's really concerning is there's no cost estimate for either Mark's plan or Catherine's plan. That is what's worrisome here when it comes to the climate plans in general.
Okay.
We haven't seen any cost estimates.
Okay. Let's go down a music rabbit hole, and there's kind of a local hook to it.
Okay.
Legendary local concert promoter Ken Craig was awarded the Mayor's City Builder Award this week by Jim Watson down at City Hall. 40 years in the music business. The last time I had him on the show, he was on tour with Genesis, their most recent Genesis tour.
Wow.
With Phil Collins, and Phil Collins had to sit down, right, for most of it. But what a cool job, right? What a cool job, though, right? Traveling the world with like some of the biggest concert acts in the world, And so he played a role in bringing some of the biggest concerts to Ottawa. You can imagine the stories he has to tell.
Oh, yeah.
And so most of them were at the old Lansdowne Park before it was redeveloped, right?
Right.
Here are 5 of them.
Okay.
My music rabbit hole.
All right. Oh, my God. Come on, AC/DC. It's an easy one. Probably one of my greatest regrets is not going to see them. I know the tune. I'm going to kick myself for this one.
Yeah, you probably will.
Oh, come on, brain. Work. Great tune. Love this song. Oh, I was there for one of those. Rolling Stones. I have a great story about that concert.
I bet you do. Okay, so let's, AC/DC, everybody, who doesn't know that, right?
Probably the greatest pure rock and roll band of all time, in my opinion.
So that was the Rock or Bust tour. They were here in September of 2015. 32,000 people. 32,000 people. The second song. This, I stumped everybody with this morning. I was kind of surprised. The second song, yeah.
I know the song.
Of course you do. That's Pink Floyd.
Oh, thank you.
Run Like Hell. Pink Floyd was here in 1987. 87. A Momentary Lapse of Reason tour.
Yeah, my brother went to that one.
34,000 people at Lansdowne for that one. Geez. The third one, I play like 3 seconds of it. My gosh. All right, that's enough of that. That's the New Kids on the Block. New Kids on the Block.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That was when they were
I'm not
first.
So disappointed.
That was when they were first hit it big. They were here in Ottawa in 1990. And it was called the Magic Summer Tour. Ken Craig bought them here. Magic Summer Tour. 29,000 people. 29,000 people. Can you imagine?
Wow.
David Bowie.
Jeez.
Yeah, 1987. Glass Spider Tour, 1987. And, of course, Beast of Burden with the Rolling Stones. And you were there?
Oh, yeah, I was there.
Play a little bit of that Beast of Burden for us. All right, you got like 30 seconds to tell your story, Derek.
Well, I didn't get the first round of tickets, so I got, how they release a second round of tickets. Well, they ended up costing me a fortune. But it was well worth it because they brought us backstage. We weren't able to actually see the opening act. I can't even remember who the opening act was. We weren't able to see them because we were part of the stage. That's where our seats were. Wow. Well, I should say we were standing. So we were looking down at the band, and when we arrived, they said, well, we have a surprise for you because you're VIPs. It's all you can eat and drink before the show. And then we got to our standing room on stage, and we had a private waiter, each of us. There was 4 of us on these little balconies. We had a private waiter to bring...
Oh, my gosh. That's incredible. All right, you're cracking up. You're breaking up. Derek. Okay, we're gone. Derek Fage, we'll check in with you next week, the host of Daytime Ottawa. That was a bigger bang tour. Rolling Stones, 43,000 people. I guess they added bleachers to the far end zone. 43,000 people at Lansdowne for that one. The news coming up with Andrew Boyle And then Tom Korski from Blacklock's reporter. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Hi guys, my name is Vi and I'm a part of Encore Ottawa 3. My set at the Meridian Theatre is coming out this week and I hope you tune in.
It's been 2 years later. I would like to see politicians and government overall, especially locals, start to support local business more. Because we've had so many businesses that have shut down, and I would like to see local business grow and politicians give more, whether that's a financial contribution or some other layer of support, but something to encourage them to keep business going.
$20. I'm Maggie, Mrs. Calabash, come into my kitchen. A quick mayonnaise, egg yolks, garlic, Dijon mustard, lemon juice, olive oil, immersion blender. Go down, come up, voila, mayonnaise. Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. Yeah.
Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by local authors for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
You see a lot of these luxury rental apartments that are coming out, and if you're a single person, it makes it extremely challenging to afford just basic lifestyle needs.
Plus taxes.
Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, September 23rd. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, 6 degrees, and here's what's making news this hour. It could be the most powerful storm to hit anywhere in Canada ever. The power of this Hurricane Fiona expected to affect a large portion of the Maritimes, then stretch into Newfoundland, Labrador, and eastern Quebec. The storm expected to make landfall tonight, likely between Nova Scotia's mainland and Cape Breton. That has raised additional concerns. The only land link between the two, the Canso Causeway Swing Bridge. Provincial Education Minister says a strike vote was planned by some education workers before the province's first offer was even tabled. The offer, though, an insult, according to CUPE, and says the voting on whether to strike takes place over the next 10 days, beginning today, ending next Sunday. The province offering anywhere from 1.25 to 2% wage increase, depending on how much money the person makes. The union is asking for 11.7. The first of the draw deadlines is midnight tonight for the CHEO Dream of a Lifetime. Any ticket bought up to that time will be in the draw for cars, camping, or cash. It's a prize worth up to $118,000, depending on which prize you choose. There is also other special draws, plus the early bird, plus the grand prize. And not to mention the 50-50. The winner's share is already at just about $540,000. City News Time, 9:34. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News 1011 FM and 1310 AM.
So I was doing some YouTubing this morning, getting ready for my program, going down music rabbit holes and whatnot, and for some reason, because I was Googling, Grieber Plan, Green Belt, and all of a sudden, in my YouTube pops up this vintage National Film Board film strip, basically from 1949, and it's called A Capital Plan. And if I'm not mistaken, the narrator is Lorne Green. So I just want to play. Tom Corsi's going to get a kick out of this too, I think. Just play a little bit of that, Noah. Okay.
Ottawa, capital city for 12.5 million Canadians. Symbol of a nation, its achievements, its power, and its progress. The Peace Tower and the Parliament buildings, where representatives from every part of Canada make the laws we live by. From all over Canada and the United States comes the visitor, the tourist. What's Ottawa like? What goes on inside all the buildings? What makes a city a capital? From other lands around the globe come diplomats and emissaries to do business. For Ottawa is Canada's point of contact with the nations beyond her shores and borders. The embassies and legations of 32 countries add color to the city. Some of the buildings that house the people who gather facts and carry out the decisions of Parliament are neither situated nor designed for their purposes. From deputy ministers to the hundreds of messenger boys, it's a hard way to carry on business. Single departments scattered about the city, their services haphazardly dispersed.
Dispersed, he says. Even my bunions have bunions.
All right. Let's get to Tom Korski from Blacklock's reporter. Government services haphazardly dispersed. Tom Korski, has anything changed since 1949?
Bring in the wrecking ball. That's
haphazardly dispersed. Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rob. It's not anything like that.
No, not at all. Not at all. Thanks to Jacques Gribert, right? Yes, and the Gribert plan. So, I must ask you, we had this news this week, Post Media, no more print editions on Monday from Post Media, Montreal Gazette, Ottawa Citizen, these kinds of newspapers. When you were a young lad, Tom, how many newspapers would arrive at your house? Like for me, it was my father read 2 newspapers a day. We had 2 newspapers a day, and for a while we had 3 because there were 2 competing newspapers in Halifax. And even though we lived in Cape Breton, he subscribed to 3 newspapers. And some came in the morning, some came in the afternoon. What about you?
I remember the Winnipeg Tribune. In fact, that was my first job, delivering the Tribune. And Life magazine, which was huge. It was a big deal. And I still remember when the Windsor paper, the Star, was an afternoon paper. I think it was the last one in the country. And I'm not that old, Rob. I'm still pretty spry.
Okay. Isn't that something? What a change. What a change. Now, what hasn't changed is big breaking news coming from Parliament Hill, but it comes from news outlets like Blacklock's reporter, blacklocks.ca for all your subscription information. This is a heck of a story. This is an explosive story. Police blacklist, bank account holders, Freedom Convoy sympathizers, emails sent to lobbyists. Please tell us more.
RCMP engaged in domestic spying. There's no other way to put that. This was when Cabinet sent out the order. So this was federal police acting on instruction from politicians who subsequently denied it. They said this was very nuanced, subtle account freeze. It was not. The RCMP compiled a blacklist, names, addresses, street addresses, numbers, you name it. And they sent that to everyone they could think of. And I mean lobbyists, I mean like the Mutual Fund Dealers Association of Canada. The emails were not encrypted. This was sent, we understand, to every securities regulator in the country. That is potentially thousands of people saw those blacklists. And what was on the blacklist, Rob? Was it communist spies or Taliban terrorists blowing up the airport? No. These were truck drivers double parked on Wellington Street. Absolutely outrageous. And that's what the Mounties did. And they did it, and they admit it, and they have something to answer for.
Okay. Regulators, maybe you can make a defense. Regulators, okay. But lobbyists? The Mutual Fund Dealers Association is a lobby group for security dealers who sell mutual funds to investors. What do they need to know about the political leanings or donations to some cause?
This is the point.
Right?
And on the list...
Lobbyists. These are lobby groups. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on the list are people, and it was check your accounts, report back to the police, and that went far and wide. That was on the wind. And who is on the blacklist? People who were subsequently charged with mischief. You know, Rob, it's a big deal to get a search warrant in this country. You have to go before, in this case, a federal judge, and you better have good cause. Or you could invoke the Emergencies Act, and the RCMP can just spit out emails to anyone they can think of, and that's what they did.
Okay, so there's going to be an inquiry into the use of the Emergencies Act, but I think that's been pushed back now by a few weeks. Has it not been pushed back by a few weeks?
Due to a medical emergency by the judge in charge, it's now October 13th, but they say they don't have a choice. They have a statutory deadline. They have to get it done.
Within the same time frame?
They have to report back to Cabinet in February. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. You know, that's where we're going to learn a lot of things that we don't know right now. Is when
absolutely. No, there's nothing like testifying under oath, under threat of perjury, to really focus the mind. That is true.
Okay, CERB. Gosh, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, $2,000 a month. And a lot of politicking about this, about who received it, who should have been eligible, whether those who were ineligible should have to pay the money back. What's the latest on the CERB?
Staggering numbers, highest we've seen so far, where the feds, this is their admission, not an allegation, not an internet conspiracy theory, cabinet reporting. They know of overpayments that were almost $3 billion, that's B as in Bravo, $3 billion. They've recovered less than $1 billion to date. That is only begins to scratch the surface of overpayments. This is a program, Rob, you remember, that went threefold over budget. It didn't make any sense. There were almost triple the number of claimants as there were unemployed people in Canada. Next time they closed the hospital emergency room on the weekend, people say, "Oh, where's the money? Where's the?"
Well, my personal favorite was sending $2,000 checks to 15-year-olds. That was my personal.
The
favorite.
high school students.
Yeah.
The high school kids got $2/3 of $1 billion. We saw that through access to information.
Yeah. That's my personal favorite. Like, for me, you know, if I'm 15, 16 years old and like every month for nothing, I'm getting $2,000. Like, yeah, I'm not delivering the newspaper in Winnipeg if I'm getting $2,000 a month. Thank you, Mr. Trudeau. We know it's been all over the news about the problems at the passport office, long lines. What's the government's latest solution for this?
It's a good solution. They're ordering crowd control barriers.
Oh, okay.
Get back.
Get back.
Oh, I'm surprised. Like, where's the water cannon? Are there no prisons? You know,
don't give them any ideas. Okay, they've used the Emergencies Act once already.
It's not going well at the passport office, Rob. It's interesting. We saw some figures. They took 2 years to get their staffing level up. 2 years. But they had a report a year ago. This is July 2021 that said, get ready, said the management plan. Get ready for the big wave of passport applications. Here we are coming up to Thanksgiving, and they're reduced to contracting for crowd control barriers at the passport office. That's great.
Okay. What's with the Canada Infrastructure Bank? This was so highly touted, and I remember speaking to experts at the time who said, you know, it's not a half bad idea if they can actually pull it off, and the government can leverage some private sector investment. Okay, we want to build a hydroelectric dam or upgrade a nuclear power plant or some light rail, whatever the case might be. We'll put in $1 and we'll see if we can get, $1 or $2 from the private sector, from pension plans, from big institutional investors. What is going on with this thing? It seems to be the only bank in the world that can't spend any money.
That's good. Commons Infrastructure Committee said shut it down. That was an unusual all-party recommendation. Even Liberal MPs endorsed that. Just shut it. Just stop it. Make the hurting stop. Yeah. Because they got $35 billion financing from Parliament. That's taxpayers. And as you mentioned, they were told to go out and do some good. Well, here we are 5 years later. It's just not. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
They went through 3 chief executives in 18 months, 2 chairs of the board. So it's not really coming together. And today, Cabinet has responded now to that committee report that said just stop it. And they said no, that's give them a chance. Give them a chance, another chance.
Right.
This is one of the most friendless banks you can imagine, and banking is not known for attracting a lot of friends. But these guys, they're out there, Rob.
But you know what? They have this list every year, Tom. The top 100 employers. You know what?
I love that.
This place should be number 1. Holy cow. If you can get in with the Canada Infrastructure Bank, the bonuses are pretty sweet.
Oh, sure.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. We saw a bonus schedule. Their CEO was, the schedule was for like 150% bonuses, $1 million a year.
Wow. Holy cow. That's almost as good as being the Governor General. Imagine how many $218 breakfasts you could have, Tom.
That's a lot. No one gets that. How do you spend $218 on breakfast? Even if they serve the poached egg with a silver spoon, it doesn't add up.
You know what it makes me want to do? I read this story. This is a top story this morning, Blacklock's reporter. MPs yesterday demanded to see the actual menus for costly in-flight meals for Governor General Mary Simon. Food expenses on a junket to Dubai were the equivalent of $218 per plate for breakfast, lunch, and supper servings for Simon and 45 others. 46 people. $1,744 per person is $218 per meal, said Liberal MP Anthony Housefather. You know what I read that story. I want to go out and I want to get Bev Oda a subscription to Blacklock's reporter. Just so she can have a good laugh.
Poor Bev. Where is she now? I know. That hurt.
All right. Great stuff, Tom.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
You bet.
Tom Korski, Blacklock's reporter, managing editor, and with us every Friday morning on The Rob Snow Show on City News.
The Rob Snow Show, brought to you by...
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. That was a lot. I think I need a nap.
I need to know that my voice matters and feel like my opinion is going to have an impact on our society and our youth.
Blood in the urine is the most common symptom of bladder cancer. Don't ignore this warning sign, not even once.
He fell.
Whoa, I'm not driving. I'm way too stoned. How are you feeling, Veer?
Oh, since we had that talk, I'm not driving tonight at all.
What about you, Dave?
You only had a couple of drinks.
And only a couple of puffs.
I don't drink and drive. No way I'm getting behind the wheel when I smoked weed, too.
How are we getting home, then?
Oh, you can drive, Dave.
Come on, Dave.
Take one for the team, buddy.
Don't let weed and alcohol influence your decision to drive.
Yeah, I need a ride. Here we go. Hey, going back in, okay?
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Flooding is causing widespread devastation in Pakistan. More than 1,000 people have died. 1/3 of the country is underwater, and 6 million people are in need of emergency assistance. The humanitarian coalition is responding to the crisis in Pakistan. You can help. Donate today at together.ca, and your donation will be matched by the Canadian government. That's together.ca, the humanitarian coalition. Together, saving more lives.
Next time on Simply Cooking by Chef, I'm sharing some of my Italian family secrets. Come join me and see what they are while I prepare a traditional Italian pork feast.
Returns on Rogers TV and City News 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
And Friday free-for-all coming up after the 10 o'clock news. Talk back hour, 750-1310, 750-1310. Yeah, the plowing match, we're going to talk about that this morning. We'll have some MPPs on the show at 11:30. They were all at the plowing match. A couple of local MPPs, John Fraser from the Liberals, Joel Harden from the New Democrats, but they all like to go down and ride the tractors. Andrew Boyle's here from our newsroom. Andrew.
Good morning.
You been to the plowing match, Andrew?
You know what? That is one thing I've never done. No. Never done it.
Big crowds, big crowds. Sam LaPrade is broadcasting from the plowing match this afternoon.
Yeah, that should be exciting.
So that'll be exciting.
So looking forward to it.
Well, Andrew has some deep roots in Nova Scotia, and loyal listeners will know that's where I'm from. I'm a Caper. I'm from Cape Breton Island. I grew up there. I graduated from high school there, and then I couldn't get out of there fast enough. And I know I miss it like you wouldn't believe. My father still lives there with my stepmother. And, gosh, I'm looking at the track of this hurricane, Fiona, and Cape Breton Island is right in the path. Like, it is going to really slam right in there. It looks to me right now that this is going to be more of a Saturday event than today. This is going to be an all-day thing tomorrow, Andrew.
Yeah, it is going to start sometime in the late evening, overnight, as the effect of this, as it approaches the coast. It's certainly going to be felt this evening, but you're right, tomorrow is going to be the big one. And I just went through sort of the hurricane list in our history, just to see if it's ever sort of smacked the Canso Causeway, which, if you don't know, is a bunch of rocks piled up into the ocean, and then about a 100-meter swing bridge at either end of this rock wall that they've built out into the water. And I don't think they've ever had a hurricane direct hit there like it looks like it's going to hit this time. So the damage that this could cause to that only link on the ground between the island, Cape Breton, and the mainland, Nova Scotia, that damage could be extreme today.
So right now I am looking at the weather forecast on my Weather Channel app that is on my phone for my hometown, which is North Sydney, Nova Scotia. So my father's house, for example, would be, I mean, it's basically right on the north side of Sydney Harbour.
Yeah,
and he lives not far from the harbor, and so I'm just going to click here because it can give me an hourly forecast. Wind gusts starting at 3 o'clock of 106 kilometers an hour. By 5 o'clock, 117 kilometers an hour. By 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, wind gusts of 122 kilometers an hour. And then slowly throughout the day tomorrow, as the storm progresses and moves on what appears to be kind of a northeasterly track toward Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yes.
By 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, the wind gusts will gradually decline, but still be about 80 kilometers an hour, if you can imagine. That would be down from a peak of more than 120 kilometers an hour.
Well,
so it is a very serious storm.
Very serious, and I hope your dad's house is more than about 3 stories above sea level.
It is. He's on high ground, which is good. Yeah.
That's what they're predicting. They're predicting a storm surge of up to 10 meters or 12 meters. That's a wave. Imagine a wave coming out. That's like Hawaii, for crying out loud. It has the potential. And sometimes people say, well, aren't you overblowing it a little bit? No, when you get waves like that hitting a shoreline, and there are many, many houses and other buildings that are along the shoreline in Nova Scotia, as people tend to be when you're on the water. People who fish for a living, for example, industry is along the coast for the most part. There is potential for an awful lot of damage.
Yeah.
All
you
the way
still have
along
family down there? Do you still?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you been in touch with them? Or?
I talked to my brother, just for example, 2 sisters and a brother. I talked to my brother yesterday, and I said, geez, what are you doing to prepare? He said, oh, we're about 3 hours outside of home. I said, what are you doing? We'll go back tomorrow, and, we've got the generator. Okay. We got the fridge stocked. We're ready.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's so matter of fact for so many.
I guess maybe we've been away too long, Andrew, because I call my father, and it's just, well, what can we do? We've got the batteries, we've got gas in the car, we've got groceries for 3 days. Doing everything that the emergency management people expect you to do. Yeah. And he just anticipates being without power. It's just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
But every expectation that it will happen.
I think one of the first things they sell out of is bungee cords, because they literally strap down anything that can move in the wind, and they just kind of,
Chips.
Storm chips.
Potato chips. Storm chips, yeah. All these pictures of the empty junk food aisles at the grocery stores.
Yeah, don't pick up a can of beans. Pick up a bag of potato chips. I don't know.
But look, we have City News colleagues in Halifax at News 95.7. We spoke to the news director there yesterday. So we do have some resources, and they'll be tracking it for us throughout the day.
Yeah.
Because these storms can turn, too. It's still quite a ways away from mainland Nova Scotia right now. It's really not expected to move closer to shore until, I would say, maybe 5-6 o'clock tomorrow, by the looks of things. So, yeah.
And just to show, just very quickly, it was I think it was 1996, and I was still in Nova Scotia, and Hurricane Hortense was coming through. So this went up through the Caribbean, along the eastern seaboard of the United States, and everyone said, well, the track is going to take it now along the Gulf Stream, so it'll basically go toward England. And honestly, it did about a 90-degree turn. And in a couple of hours hit Nova Scotia right on the eastern shore, just smacked it right in the middle. Yeah. And no one was expecting it because the storm track just wasn't supposed to go that way. And all of a sudden it switched. So yeah, these things can, and it could possibly turn away from Nova Scotia. But the way it's looking right now, as you mentioned, it's going to hit, and it's going to hit hard.
Okay. Andrew's coming up with the very latest on that story during our 10 o'clock newscast, and then we'll do the talkback hour. Friday free for all right after the news. This is City News.
The Rob Snow Show, brought to you by...
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Things like the convoy really showed a lot of separation between municipal parties and even federal, provincial lines of communication. So we want to see a lot more responsibility taken on fronts that really affect people in the city, as well as probably seeing increases in housing and industrial space.
Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m., it's the RTV Quiz. Giovanni Petiti hosts a weekly trivia competition that lets you play from the comfort of your couch. Play along at home and challenge your friends. And don't forget to follow along on social media. Let us know who's top of trivia, and you can find yourself featured on a future episode.
Are you kidding me, folks?
The RTV Quiz, Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. on Rogers TV or at rogerstv.com/RTV Quiz.
Focus better.
Partner better.
Sleep better.
Breathe better.
Love better. Work better. Friend better. Unwind better.
Everything gets better when you get active.
What are we doing about COVID? Seems like the communications have been all about how everything's opening up, and yet here in Ottawa we're experiencing our 7th wave, so a bit of a contradiction there.
.101 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, September 23rd. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, 6 degrees, and here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. This could be the most powerful storm to hit the country ever. Hurricane Fiona leaving the area around Bermuda, now headed for the Nova Scotia coast. An expected landfall late tonight into tomorrow, with winds possibly gusting over 150 in some areas, along with 200 millimeters of rain. Anyone along the coast could be in real jeopardy, as we hear from City News reporter Steve Gow.
Massive storm surge will thrash most coastlines in eastern Nova Scotia, the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and other parts of the region. Coinciding with near high tide on Saturday morning, Fiona's arrival could wash out roads, cause significant erosion and flooding, with up to 12-meter high waves expected to slam into most coastal regions in Atlantic Canada. For City News, I'm Steve Gow.
Now, another concern is for the only land link between the mainland and Cape Breton Island. That is the Canso Causeway. Almost 1,400 meters of rock-filled causeway from both sides, and then connected by a 100-meter swing bridge. Power companies across Atlantic Canada preparing for the outages that will come. Dave Pickles with Nova Scotia Power says they're ready to deal with them when it's safe to do so.
There will be outages. That's almost guaranteed. We know it's a very significant wind event. Trees are in full bloom still. Trees and limbs will come down, and that'll cause power outages.
Now, Pickles says they have contacted various power companies, including those in Maine, New Brunswick, Quebec, and Ontario, asking for help if needed once this storm blows through. Well, what's our weather going to be like this weekend? Here's our meteorologist, Jill Taylor.
It's a cool start to our Friday. Temperatures close to the freezing mark in some areas. The high today just 13 degrees, sun and cloud, a brisk wind out of the northwest. Clear and continuing cool tonight down to 5, and for the weekend, sunshine a bit warmer Saturday 18, some showers on Sunday and 15. For today, the high 13.
And right now 6 degrees in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls. A driver was arrested by police early this morning after driving down a closed-off portion of Wellington. Police say the driver was impaired and turned onto the closed portion of that street right in front of Parliament. The vehicle moved quickly eastbound, striking a cement jersey barrier that caused some significant damage. Police say the driver was not injured and then attempted to flee the vehicle, but he was taken into custody. Ontario education workers, including librarians, custodians, and administrative staff, all set to start voting today on whether or not they are going to strike to back their contract demands. Their union, CUPE, has recommended they voted yes. The government has offered raises ranging from 1.25% to 2%, depending on what they make. The union is demanding 11.7% more. Education Minister Stephen Lecce a little bit upset. He says CUPE was planning strike votes since before the first offer was even tabled. Quebec's party leaders are back on the trail this morning following a French language debate. Last night, that was the final one of the campaign. The CAQ leader, François Legault, is in the Montreal area a day after he faced targeted attacks from his four opponents. They attack proposals to fight climate change on the cost of living and decline of the French language. Legault aimed many of his attacks at the left-wing Quebec Solidaire Party. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
Because it's the Friday free for all. Our favorite hour of the week around here. We don't come up with the topics. We leave that all up to you. And within reason, we're open to talking about just about anything. So fire away. Away. Okay, 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. I just want to give some kudos before the phones start ringing to Noah, because David would normally be here. Our trusty producer of the Rob Snow Show, David, is gone fishing. David has been in British Columbia all this week, and he is salmon fishing. And Noah, who has been working here, how long? 2 months?
We just actually passed my probation period, so 3 months.
You're past the probation period. Past 3 months. Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, first of all. And so Noah's been doing literally everything. He's been like lining up the show, and he works all the equipment over there that I don't know how to work anymore. And he answers the phone, and he generally keeps the show running. And we could not get through this week without him. And I just want to thank you, Noah, for a really good job this week. Really well done. And he also does it with Sam's show in the afternoon as well. So it's 10:06. As I said, Friday free for all. So wide open on topics. Whatever you want to talk about. Let's just get into it here. Kevin on the Quebec side.
Good morning.
Hi, Kevin.
Noah's a keeper.
He's a keeper. That's right. Yeah.
And first off, hey, good luck to your dad and everybody out there.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough few days, I think.
I'll have to check on a couple of friends who, a couple of years ago, they became empty nesters and escaped Mechanicsville for Cape Breton. But I thought I'd kind of keep it light and talk about a couple of noble memories I had from some of that music you played earlier, and then I'd like to slam Ticketmaster a little bit concerning like their Eagles thing and stuff. I just moved here in '87 from the States when I was young, and strangely enough, I got a job managing a Harvey's right after I only had applied to be a landed immigrant. So I went in, I'm like, well, I applied, I don't have a social insurance number, and the guy hired me. And every few months he'd ask, did you get your social insurance number yet? It took like almost a year before I ever did.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that happening now, but maybe, I don't know.
All right.
But anyhow, that Pink Floyd show rolled around, and I elected to stay and work so that all the staff could go. That most of them wanted to go. I regret it, but well. It was
Did you know that song when I played it?
I recognized it, but no, I didn't have it, or the second one either. No, that was second.
The third one.
But so I kind of regret because I never actually saw them or Roger Waters. I regret not going to him when I had chances too.
Okay.
And then the other one was at the big one, the Stones.
Yeah.
My daughter waited in line a couple days at Saint Laurent Shopping Center for tickets.
Yeah.
And so I went to check on her on the last night, see if she needed any food or whatever. And she was like 10th in line, and I hadn't planned on going to the show. But when I was there, it occurred to me, you were allowed to buy 12 tickets each, so I just started at the front. Number one, I'm buying 12. Number two, as a girl, I'm only buying one cheap ticket. So I said, hang on a second. I'll pay for your ticket, and I'll show up here in the morning and let me buy the other 11. And I did that with a few other people, so I wound up buying 23 tickets, and I sold them all at my cost and didn't make a dime. And then when I got to the show, I was hanging at a friend's on Homewood or somewhere right near there.
Yeah.
And I could see the screen bright, and I've been to hundreds and hundreds of concerts. I'm like, I don't need to be in there packed. I'll be able to hear perfectly and watch it on the TV. So I sat in the lawn chair and had a barbecue with shrimp next to a keg of beer. It was great. So I didn't even go. I sold all the tickets for my cost. And
sounds like some great memories there.
Sure, yeah, but it was wonderful. It was a wonderful evening. There was probably as many people outside as inside. It was a truly wonderful event. Yeah. And then I want to get to the demon of Ticketmaster/Live Nation.
Okay.
I remember you had complained about the Eagles tickets, and they make tremendous amount of profit, like 20 to 60% that they slap on. First, they start by creating false demand. They say, oh, it's sold out right away, and then they redirect people to, oh, you can go to StubHub or this one or that one, which they own as well, and then they scalp their own tickets.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually had to pay $380,000 to the government of Canada for this a few years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, they start off first, as a preferred customer, we'll give you a code, and then right away you plug in your code, and then they release more. So the secret is never buy right away, unless it's something absolutely that, Bruce Springsteen at the NAC or something that, any show that's not on a Friday or Saturday in Canada, there'll always usually be tickets, unless it's like Justin Bieber. There's a rare exception.
Okay.
But most of the stuff, at least that I like, never buy right away. Always wait, because there's always, and then, it was sold out in 2 hours or 10 minutes, and now, a week before the show, suddenly there's loads of tickets.
Interesting.
Right?
All right, Kevin, that's interesting advice. I'm going to run because some people are lined up. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, Kevin hung on there for a while. He called early. Alex in Canada. Alex, good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
Hey, Alex. Yeah.
I found it absolutely fascinating, Rob, that the mainstream media in Canada did not cover the poor lady in Iran that stood up for her rights and lost her life because she refused to wear the hijab, and she was killed by the Islamic religious police in Iran. But yet, not a poo here, not a thing. So here we are. We
I talked about it yesterday. I did talk about it yesterday. Yeah.
I know you did, but I didn't see anything on CBC. I didn't see anything on CTV. Nothing, like zero. And it's just shocking, because here we are, we stand up for women's rights and feminism.
Oh, sure.
But yet, when these women stand up and they die for the right to not wear the hijab, if they think the hijab is a symbol of oppression, and they stand up and they lose their life, we say nothing. Absolutely fascinating.
Okay. All right, Alex. Thanks for bringing that up today. Appreciate that. Yeah, it is. I mean, the scenes on social media coming out of Iran, they're remarkable. Read Terry Glavin yesterday in the Post, and then we had Professor Tepper on yesterday. Both of them expressed great confidence that this uprising in Iran will not last and that it will be brutally, violently crushed by the theocratic leaders of Iran, because that is their history and has been the history since 1979. Mark in Ottawa. Mark, you're on City News.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
The taxes that the government imposed on life cos and banks.
Okay.
People got to realize, man, this is just it's a tax on us.
Sure. Yeah.
You think they're not going to pass it on to us?
Of course they are. That'll show up in your user fees, right? So, yeah.
So they were just talking about this, and then, they're showing $5 billion over 5 years, or $3 billion over 5 years.
Yeah.
Whatever.
$5 billion over 5 years, I think, was the.
Well, that's $5 billion in taxes that our Canadians are paying.
Yeah.
It's just
but it's you're taxing the banks and banks are like the grocery stores. We don't like Loblaws, and we don't like the Royal Bank, and we don't like the big greedy banks. Banks are big and they're greedy and they're faceless. So let's tax them. It's like you're taxing the billionaires. Who knows a billionaire? As long as you're taxing them and not me. What do I care, right? It's not that it makes sense. It's just that it looks good, right? It looks good.
I know, but Rob, when you're given a budget to handle a country, and if you can't maintain your budget, the only way to do it is by taxing your citizens, then you're doing something wrong.
Okay. So
then they do everything wrong.
I don't know if they do everything wrong, but okay. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, thank you. Mark wanted to vent a little bit on that. Dave Bayshore, you're on City News. Dave.
How you doing this morning, Rob?
I'm good, Dave. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think about putting a CFL team down in Halifax?
I love the idea. I love the
Do
idea.
you think they already have? Do they have somebody down there that's already got deep enough pockets?
Oh, they got lots of deep-pocketed people in Nova Scotia, sir, and if not in Atlantic Canada anyway. I mean, Halifax is the commercial hub of Atlantic Canada. Lots of wealthy families down there that would love to get in on the action. Yeah.
Because they've obviously proven that last year when they had the Argonauts playing who was that, Montreal, they played a game down in Moncton and they really supported it well.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the Irving family is there and the McCain family is there in Atlantic Canada. They got lots of money.
So what's taking so long for them to do this, Rob?
Well, I mean, it's the same situation that we had here in Ottawa. You know, the municipality is going to have a lot of say on where the stadium is going to go, and wherever they want to put it, there's going to be local opposition to it going there, and should we have it there or over there, and so it'll get bogged down and stuff like that, right?
And one last thing I was going to say to you, Rob, you know who I think would also really support CFL really well?
Who's that?
Would be Quebec City, because look at the University of Laval games; they're all sold out.
Oh, are they? Okay, yeah, I don't really follow
college football really well.
Yeah, and it's the same story in Halifax and in all of Atlantic Canada. Actually, they really cheer for their local university teams, right? Acadia football and Saint FX football.
I mean, look at what they did in Montreal, right? They put the Alouettes at McGill Stadium and then they upgraded it.
Yeah.
So I think what they should do is either upgrade St. Mary's Stadium and just outside Halifax, or upgrade Laval Stadium and put a team in Quebec City.
You know what I want, Dave? I want the Red Blacks to win a home game sometime in my lifetime again. That's all I want. They're playing the Argonauts tomorrow.
I hate to tell you this, Rob, but I'm a big Argo fan, buddy. I love them.
Okay. Don't ever call me again. Don't ever call me. No, I'm just kidding, Dave.
Hey, Rob, I just want to share this one last thing here. Can I have one more minute just to share?
One more minute. Okay. All right.
I remember 96 and 97 when Flutie won back-to-back Grey Cups with Toronto.
Okay.
I had season tickets for the Argos for 2 years in a row.
Very cool. Must have been a lot of fun.
Are you a dedicated fan coming all the way from Ottawa or what?
You sure are. All right, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Bye-bye. 10:17, Talkback Hour, Rob Snow Show, City News.
I asked my Mopar.
We're in infinity. Hi, my name is Isabel. I'll be performing as part of Encore Ottawa 3. I hope you can tune in and catch it on Rogers TV.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Yo. Yep. Okay, I'll be there.
Smudging is a very important part in our life as we're all learning to walk the good way. When we smudge, we use the sacred medicine, the white sage, the sweetgrass, the tobacco, and the cedar. It cleanses negative energy and replaces it by a positive energy. When I smudge, I cleanse my end and my eagle feather and start cleansing my breath to have better words. I will smudge my eyes so I could see the better things offered to me. I will smudge my ears to hear the good thing that people have to say. I will smudge my hair to have good thinking from my head. I will bring the smudge to my feet so I could walk in respect with our Mother, the Earth. Smudging is the way we give our prayers to connect our spirit to the Creator. We express gratitude for the gift of life, the learning, and growth.
Enjoy the fresh outdoors. Play an important role in the lives of school-age children. Get paid to make a difference in your community. Become a crossing guard. We are currently recruiting crossing guards for the school year. We offer a competitive wage with various perks and opportunities for bonuses. Join the Ottawa Safety Council in keeping kids safe in the nation's capital. Find out more at crossing-guard.ca.
I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
With the Friday free-for-all talkback hour, Deborah in Ottawa. Deborah, you're on City News. Hi, Deborah.
Yeah, Rob, I was watching the House of Commons yesterday, and the Emperor Trudeau, he decided after two, sessions with Pierre Poilievre, he was going to sit down and let Krista Freeland take over.
Yeah.
Krista Freeland is so flustered, and she's scared to say something wrong, and she keeps looking at Trudeau. I mean, I think they're all scared to hell with this guy. He thinks he's an emperor. He goes over to the Queen's funeral, right? And all you can see on the TV is his mug.
Okay. Well, I
mean,
don't know. That wasn't my impression of...
the Americans, The Americans are going to stop taxes. Now, you always follow what the States does, because if they catch a cold, we get pneumonia.
Right.
He doesn't understand what he's doing.
Okay.
I mean, I wish people would realize that this guy cannot lead a country.
Well, I'll tell you what, I watched a little bit of question. I didn't see when it was happening yesterday live. I watched a little bit of it this morning. Mr. Trudeau's going to be in tough against Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre is a master in question period.
Oh, I know.
The question is, for most Canadians, question period's on 2:15 in the afternoon. Who the heck is sitting down to watch question period in Parliament?
Well, there's a lot of people, but I know what you mean. Half of them are out trying to survive.
Right. Most people
they're
are
working. They haven't got time to pick the kids up. They're dead when they get home.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm going to tell you, they are scared to death of him, his own MPs, and they will not speak.
I don't know. You just play a little bit more of that. Thank you, Deborah. Play a little bit more of the question period. Pick it up from where you left off if you can. Noah, yesterday...
invested in volatile
big showdown
currencies in an attempt to quote
Trudeau and Poilievre.
Inflation, they would have lost half of their savings. Mr. Speaker, responsible leadership means stepping up for Canadians and being there to support them. Will the Conservative leader support our measures to support Canadians?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We will not support tax hikes on Canadians. Speaking of tax hikes, they plan to raise taxes on paychecks. Now, yesterday, the finance minister claimed that all the EI tax hikes that they would collect would go to EI benefits. In fact, I looked it up. Over the next 3 years, they're going to collect $10 billion more in EI taxes than they pay out in EI benefits, allowing the Prime Minister to grab up the difference and use it to feed his insatiable spending appetites. Canadians can't afford a bigger bite off their paychecks. Will the Prime Minister cancel his tax hikes on Canadian paychecks?
He excels in opposition when he is on the offensive. Against the Liberals. He is in the zone. That is his sweet spot. Mike in Ottawa. Mike, good morning. You're on City News.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, Mike. What's up?
It's Venting Friday, so...
well, whatever you want to talk about. Yeah, sure.
I happen to be a merchant in the Rideau Centre.
In the Rideau Centre, okay. Yeah.
And my concern is the situation with the homeless people, the mentally ill people, the drug addicts, just the general crazy people yelling at us when we're walking down the street. This morning I was walking over in front of Charles Laurier. There was a man threatening all of the tourists that were walking by, and he's laughing his head off, and he's threatening to hit them with a stick. I looked around. There's no cops around. There's never any cops around Rideau Street, ever. every morning and every night, there are tons and tons of homeless. Every morning I walk to work, there are 7, 8, 9 people lying on the sidewalk, just lying there. No pack sack, no nothing. Or sleeping bag. One morning, there was a guy, half his body was in the street.
Oh, my God.
And I was standing there, and I was saying to myself, should I try to wake him up? A car's going to run over him. But then it dawned on me, if I wake him up, and he pulls a knife and stabs me. So I looked around, and there was bylaw officers down the street. So I said something, and there's nothing we can do, sir. Nothing we can do. The guy's half in the street, passed out. This morning, I'm walking down. There is a tent in front of Hudson Bay.
Wow, by the Freeman Mall there, Mall.
Right Hudson Bay, right in front of the Dorito Center.
Yeah.
It's like this is the capital of Canada.
Right.
It looks like a third world. There's a place.
Oh my gosh.
There's a place when you go beside the Dorito Center, you go under. It smells in reeks of feces and urine. There are at any time 30 to 40 people sleeping under there. And if they're not sleeping, you're going to...
Are you talking about where you
the Terry Fox statue used
where
to
the
be.
Terry Fox statue used to be? Yeah, I know exactly that little place.
Incredible.
That used to be terrible, and the police went in and they fenced off a whole part of it there. But
but they reopened it. They used to
reopened
it.
Really?
So nobody would sleep there. Now they've taken that away.
Oh, I didn't know
What's going on? Is there no vacancy laws anymore?
My gosh.
The tourists are passing by and they're afraid to come to the Dorito Center. They are afraid, and tourism is down 50%. They're afraid to walk into the Dorito Center because too many homeless. Every week, I have to chase somebody out of my store because he's stealing.
Oh, my gosh.
Just insane. I asked the guards, and they said there's nothing they can do. Asked the police say, well, we didn't see it. I didn't see the crime, therefore no crime has been committed.
Yeah. Okay.
It's crazy, Rob. It's crazy.
Gotten a lot worse.
It's getting a lot worse, and now winter's here.
Yeah.
So the shopping mall, the guards are so busy that they do not respond anymore to certain things because they're busy at the other end trying to take somebody out that's got.
I'm just curious, are you hearing anything about the light rail stops and everything underneath?
I've been so concerned about the tourism.
Okay.
I've let go of the light rail. I'll tell you one thing: the next person that's elected mayor has to do something. I've heard Sutcliffe talk about this, but there are no concrete solutions.
Okay.
First of all, let's get these people that need medication back on their medication. I remember years ago we could force people to take your medication. Now we can't anymore. So these people are roaming the streets, yelling. There's a person that every morning here has an argument, yelling at himself.
Yeah.
And he keeps losing the argument, so he keeps coming back.
Right. Yeah, that's sad
crazy.
to see. That's sad to see. Okay, Mike, thanks for letting us know. Do me a favor, Mike, before you hang up. Just hang on the line. We're just going to put you on hold. I want you to just give me your number to the producer, okay? Just in case we want to follow up, okay, Mike?
All right.
Okay? Yeah, thanks. All right, hang on the line. Noah's going to take care of that for me. Put that guy on hold, Noah. All right? Let's put line 2 on the air here. David and Carp. David.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, hi, David. You know what, David? I just looked at the clock here. It's 10:28. So we don't really have a lot of time, so I need you to wait through the news, okay?
That's fine.
Won't take long. We'll be back in about 3 or 4 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right. 10:28. This is the Rob Snow Show, and this is City News.
The houseless crisis, because it really is a crisis down here on Rideau Street. There is not enough shelters for men especially, and we need to be helping our most vulnerable.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
When an impaired driver killed my brother DJ, my life changed forever. During the pandemic, all of our lives changed, and many of us turned to alcohol and drugs to cope. As life returns to normal, the increase in substance use from COVID has lingered, and some police services report an increase in impaired driving that caused heartbreak and devastation. Now, more than ever, we need your commitment to never drive impaired and to encourage all of your family and friends to do the same. Together, we can save lives.
$20. Hi, I'm Maggie. Come into my kitchen. When you're using salt in a recipe, check for saltiness. Not all salts are equal. A fine grain salt is a lot more salty than a large grain salt because that takes longer to get into the food. Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20.
Hi guys, my name is Vi and I'm a part of Encore Ottawa 3. My set at the Meridian Theatre is coming out this week and I hope you tune in.
It's been 2 years later still. Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by local authors for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
Weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It's Friday, September 23rd. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 7 degrees, 6 degrees in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news this hour. Hurricane Fiona forecast to bring severe winds and as much as 200 millimeters of rain to Atlantic Canada and eastern Quebec this weekend. Environment Canada meteorologists say the potentially historic storm is also expected to cause widespread power outages right along the east coast. Fiona pounding Bermuda this morning. It's on track to reach Nova Scotia waters either late tonight, or tomorrow morning. Cape Breton in particular will be hard hit. Prince Edward Island could be hit tomorrow. Then Fiona moves on to Quebec's lower North Shore as well as southeastern Labrador. 200 police officers continue their run to Ottawa to witness the National Peace Officer Memorial that will be held on Sunday. The 460K run ends over the weekend. Officers then attend that memorial service on Parliament Hill. Most of the run is along Highway 2 today. The OPP is providing an escort to the runners, but want drivers to be aware this is going on. Provincial Education Minister says a strike vote was planned by some of the education workers before the province's first offer was even tabled. That offer, though, an insult, according to CUPE, and it says voting on whether to strike is taking place over 10 days. That starts today. The voting will come to an end next Sunday. Now, the province is offering between 1.25 and 2% raise, depending on how much money the worker makes. The union is asking for 11.7%. City News Time, 10:32. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back.
On the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
What do we got? 10:32 Friday free-for-all. 10:32. Yeah. Is that Caroline Meehan? Caroline Meehan's called in? Okay. Caroline Meehan?
Hi, good morning, Rob.
Yeah, hi, Caroline Meehan, City Councillor. For a little while longer, anyway.
For about 2 months, I guess.
Good morning.
No, Rob, I was listening to the gentleman who called, who was a merchant in the Rideau Centre, and he hit on something that's been bugging me for an awfully long time. And I just want to give you two anecdotes about what's happening in the Byward Market. And I don't weigh into it very much because it is not my area of jurisdiction. It's not my jurisdiction. But I know someone who sells who is a merchant in the Rideau Centre as well.
Okay.
He sells high-end perfume. He has a lot of tourists come to him. And he told me a couple of weeks ago that the tourists are coming in and they're rolling their eyes and they're saying, "What is going on with this city?"
Really?
I've never been so appalled by a capital city in my life.
Oh my God.
I've been threatened. I had to walk over. She said, the people are saying it's taken me a lot to get here, but I'm never coming back. These people are going home and talking about the abysmal state of our capital city, and it's going to hurt tourism for years to come. So, and also, what's happening is I have a friend who lives in the market. He had friends, his family, come over from Paris this summer. And he put them in a car and whisked them to Quebec City. He did not want to chance them seeing where he lives. I'm talking about, this is a very, very serious problem. And this, nowhere in the world, no capital city in the world would allow what we're allowing in the downtown area to happen. We are in the shadow. The Margaret Market is the main tourist area. It's in the shadow of the Parliament buildings, and we have forgotten it. You know, we pay lip service to, you know, money, millions of dollars for a new public realm in the downtown market, but we cannot address the homeless issue, where we have to find homes for these people. We have to have wraparound services for them. But there has to be, number one, a vision that coming from the mayor's office on what to do with our downtown core. And that has not happened. And I've been waiting for someone to talk about this. I talked about it at a meeting when we were discussing the millions to put a new look on the market to try to entice more people to come down. Yeah. And I made the big mistake of saying, well, what do we do with our homeless? Well, I tell you, I was dumped on big time because I was told these people live down there. They have every right to be on the streets. And I'm saying, yes, they have rights. But we as residents of the capital city of Canada also have our rights. And we are not addressing the elephant in the room down there. And I'm sorry for people who are listening who are saying, you know, the homeless are not the elephant in the room. Let's be adult about this. We have to address the underlying issues in the downtown market, or we're cutting off our nose to spite our face. And this has to be an election platform from someone. Right. I tell you, if I were mayor of the city, that's the number one thing I would do is try to get everybody together.
Well, I mean, there obviously, Caroline, there are at least three issues going on. There's a lack of affordable housing, so that people can't afford to put roofs over their head. I've mentioned this several times in the last few weeks. When I first moved to Ottawa 30 years ago, 5 years to get a unit in social housing, 10,000 names on a wait list. 30 years ago. 30 years ago. It's the same now. So that's one issue. Lack of affordable housing, treatment for mental illness. Yep. And how we're approaching issues of substance abuse and drug addiction. Yes. Whether we have enough treatment style programs or whether we're being too lenient with the harm reduction strategies that we have underway right now.
But what we'd have to do, Rob, is we have to have a summit. We have to have a mayor with a vision for the market. We have to do everything. No, seriously, we like Rudy Giuliani did in New York City. We can clean up the market and help the people who are living on the streets. We just have to have a concerted effort and a desire to do it. We've been tiptoeing around it. The worse it gets, the worse that we're all going to be off for it. Because if we're able to do it at some point, we're going to have to rebuild that tourism base. And all those people that come into town who are not going to come back again, or they're going to go home and talk about Canada's capital, what the heck's going on there. They're not going to come back. That's going to do us a lot of damage. So all the money we pump into tourism, all the money we put into putting trees and benches and wider sidewalks, it's all for naught. Everybody in every sector has to come together to do this. And it should be a focal point for Canada's capital, and every level of government should be involved. So I'll just say that's how I come from it. But I was glad to hear this gentleman talk about it this morning, because people downtown and people who come to visit are talking about it. Let me tell you, they're talking about it. I would not want to be a merchant downtown coming and opening my doors and having to spray, to hose down the front of my shop every morning before I welcome customers in. Why would I want to do that? And I question, I take my hats off to everybody who works and lives in the downtown market, in the market downtown for putting up with it. Because it's costing everybody. I'm not running for council again. I wonder why, right?
Okay. All right, Caroline, thank you.
Shooting off my mouth. Thanks,
Thank
Rob.
you. Thank you, Caroline.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Caroline Meehan, soon to be former city councillor. Sounds like she can't wait. Bob is also on this topic here in Ottawa. Bob? No Bob. Okay. So there's a couple of free lines for you there. Dave in Ottawa. Dave.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah. Hi, Dave. You want to talk about what's happening in Ukraine?
In Ukraine, yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's incredible the information that's out there on YouTube now compared to other wars.
Okay.
And a month ago, I made the prediction that Russia was losing the war. They just didn't know it yet, but that's an easy one to say now.
Okay.
I'm going to make another prediction that Russia, as we know it now, is finished. 5 years from now, Russia will either have to be a democracy or it'll be controlled by China, one or the other.
Wow.
Nobody's going to deal with them after this is over. The war crime stuff is just getting started. They're going to find, I think, thousands of cases of it, thousands of bodies. That's incredible. Anyway,
what do you think about this? If I could just interrupt, because you seem to be following it very closely. What do you think about this call-up of the 300,000 reserves?
That's just going to get a lot of Russians killed.
Okay.
It's going to take a long time to get them to the front. And what they've done so far is their training staff and stuff, they brought them all up to fill the holes originally, so they got nobody to train these troops to start with. So if they bring them up, they're just going to be conscripted off the street, hand them a gun, and send them out. And they call them cannon fodder is what they call them.
Cannon fodder, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's where that's going. As far as the nuclear end of it, had one American general was on the other night, and what he was talking about, it made sense, was that I personally don't think that Putin has control of it over his atomic energy or atomic bomb people. I think they're a little entity on their own, and they're kind of separate from him, and I don't think the generals will ever back him if he calls it up. But anyway, this American general said something that was very true. He says even if the Russians do use nuclear weapons, that he said the response from the United States, particularly the United States and Britain, I think, won't be nuclear. They'll be able to put the Russians out of Ukraine without using nuclear weapons. So that kind of puts a limit on where that's going. So I personally don't think that's a big issue. But anyway, one thing before I wanted to talk about is two things that don't seem to be mentioned very much about. And then the other night, somebody from Izum, that city, said there was 80 children had disappeared, and they didn't know where they went. And there was another story, there was 125 children disappeared from another city. I don't remember what city it was or where it came from. And there's been several people talk about hundreds of people disappearing. And the impression I get is that they're being all shipped off to Russia. To what extent, I don't know, or how many of them are. There don't seem to be many people talking about it, and nobody seems to know what's really going on about it.
Okay.
But where he's going with that, I don't know. That could be.
Yeah,
really
might not have a happy ending there. Dave, I'm going to let you go. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can I say one more thing?
Very quickly, sir. Yeah.
One more thing. Okay. There was a lady on the other night, and she was saying that the American Air Force is now patrolling the Canadian North. Have you heard that anywhere?
I haven't heard that. I don't know anything about that, Dave. Thank you. I'm going to jump here. Let's take Jason in Stittsville. Jason.
Hey, how are you, Rob?
I'm good, Jason. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank Carolyn and me, and it's good that she called in and said something. I wish she was sticking around. I was downtown a couple weeks ago, and a family member came in from out of town, was staying at the Holiday Inn on Rideau Street, and I went to visit him at the hotel.
Oh, that's the new one there.
I guess the one just east of King Edward, on Rideau.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
And so there's that store there right at the corner, the Circle K, and the parking lot was just like, it was just about probably 6, 7 in the night, just about a couple months ago, it's the middle of summer, and it was just people sitting there shooting up drugs, smoking crack. There was in a two, like we're talking about, having trouble with healthcare and people waiting for ambulances. In a 2-block area, I saw 4 ambulances dealing with people passed out on the sidewalk. Like it's unbelievable. And the thing that really caught my attention was what Carolyn was saying, is that when she spoke up and she was attacked by, like, these activists will go out, you can't talk about it. The activists will go after you on Twitter, all this, you know what I mean? And people are scared to even speak up. We have this other thing, and I'm not going to exclude that. Everyone's heard about this thing going on in Oakville at the school. The parents are scared to say anything.
With the teacher, with the teacher.
They're bigots and transphobes. Like, this is crazy, man. It's like, it's censorship on a whole new level. The government doesn't even have to do it. we need to fix this because it's not right. It's not right, and it's across all areas of public life. It's it's in the school boards. It's on it's having effect. We had the seniors calling in the buildings last week. I mean, these are seniors.
Oh yeah, seniors.
They're living in like, is that's equity?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah, that's Ottawa Community Housing. That's a $200 million a year operation, Ottawa Community Housing.
And this is supposed to be progressive. Like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. All right.
And we need to do something as a city. We need to stand together. People need to speak up. And I really hope that one of the candidates will start to address it, because we can't. You look at the United States; these cities, like, they're unrecognizable. Chicago, New York, Washington D.C. It's like thousands and thousands and thousands of tents. I know people will roll their eyes. Watch Fox News for a week. It's crazy.
Okay.
It's true.
No, I know. Okay. I gotta go. All right, I'll take one more. Garth in Nepean. Garth.
Good morning, Rob.
Oh, wait, Garth. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Garth. Go ahead, Garth.
Well, it's deja vu for me. You know that I've lived in Vancouver's downtown east side.
Yeah.
The Rideau Market area is becoming our main and Hastings area. It's the Ottawa, downtown east side Ottawa neighborhood. It's, again, we should take some lessons from the city of Vancouver and some of their approaches to dealing with some of these issues. Some of them have been quite successful in dealing with the street drug use, the homelessness. It's going to happen that we're going to be like Vancouver, where we're going to send in the police and the fire department to have to clear out the streets. I think that's horrible for the nation's capital.
Okay, agree, Garth. Thank you. Okay, going to stop. 2 lines available there. Boy, amazing. Sometimes just organically a topic will take off. So if you want to comment on that, by all means. It's the Friday free-for-all, though, so we're pretty wide open. 750-1310. This is City News.
You see a lot of these luxury rental apartments that are coming out, and if you're a single person, it makes it extremely challenging to afford just basic lifestyle needs.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
On Friday's Daytime Ottawa, well, as you know, it's officially fall now, so that means everything pumpkin spice is going on. Well, we'll share some fabulous pumpkin spice recipes for you at home. And the Ottawa Auto Scale Contest is back. We'll give you all the details on that. And artist, producer, and yes, clothing designer Cody Coyote will be on the show. We'll talk about his brand new line. All that and more on Friday.
Hi, I'm Meg from AIM Fitness, and I'm here with my buddy Fit Finley. Join us every week for Fit Over 50. We'll take you through some low-impact and high-intensity workouts designed to improve your strength and your balance. All you'll need is a resistance band, some light hand weights, and also your water bottle and a sturdy chair. Tune in right here on Rogers TV and let us be part of your weekly routine.
Flooding is causing widespread devastation in Pakistan. More than 1,000 people have died. 1/3 of the country is underwater, and 6 million people are in need of emergency assistance. The humanitarian coalition is responding to the crisis in Pakistan. You can help. Donate today at together.ca, and your donation will be matched by the Canadian government. That's together.ca, the humanitarian coalition. Together, saving more lives.
I need to know that my voice matters and feel like my opinion is going to have an impact on our society and our youth.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
I'm going to try to get to everybody in the final 10 minutes we have here, Friday Free-for-All. But the situation with the Byward Market and Lowertown and homeless and drug-addicted individuals. This has really taken off as a topic here. Bob, are you there, Bob?
Yeah, I am. How can you hear me now?
I hear you just fine, Bob. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, great. Well, anyway, I'm one of those veterans that wants too much. I've already said that. In the past couple of conversations I've had with you, I've complained about Trudeau. I've decided to not do that anymore, or change my rifle from shoulders, and I decided that Poilievre's going to do all the work for me now.
Okay.
So when I left the military, they gave me my file, medical, everything, and I said, "What the heck? This is all has to do with a point. I'm trying to make a point here."
All right.
So they gave me the file, and I said, "What am I going to do with this file?" So, anyways, as it turns out, about 5 years ago, I looked at it, just stumbled upon it, and did you know we actually had like a report card, an annual report card in the military? I didn't really pay much attention to it. So I started reading this, and it was like, oh, wow, what a bit of history I'm getting here. And I realized that I kept getting better year after year after year. And why? Because of the training. I got training in the military. Now, this homeless situation here requires training. I'm coming from the military side, okay?
Okay.
So there's a guy by the name of Ken McLaren who's Ottawa Inner City Ministries. And he goes out on the streets, he trains people. So I'm going to start taking his training, which is essentially 6 days, once a week. And then you're qualified. Imagine that. You're volunteering, and they won't just let you go out. They want to train you for 6 days, over 6 weeks, to go and how to interact with these people.
Okay. To do what? To do what?
To help them, to give them some food, to talk to them, to maybe give them counseling. Maybe in a year or two from now, I'll have so much training and so much experience, I'll be able to tell these guys. I met a homeless person, and I sat down with them for quite a long time. Something that one of those politicians never did there. The guy talked out of the side of his mouth there. Anyway, whatever. So he said he met a homeless person. I don't think he ever did. So anyway, the one thing that struck me the most is that I said, hey, there's shelters. Why don't you go into a shelter? Why are you sleeping outside? He said, have you ever been to one of those? I said, no, I can't say I have. He says, you wake up in the morning and everything you own is gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been in one. I'm told some people will not go to shelters because shelters are too dangerous.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Well, I aim to do that. I was in the military. I mean, I slept in weird places, I tell you, even standing up and even walking, as a matter of fact. So this is something I'm saying just for fun because we're on the topic now, but I think I'd like to try that.
Okay. Report back.
Sure.
Report back.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I will. Thank you.
Best of luck. Thank you. Dave in Ottawa. Dave.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm first-time caller.
Appreciate it.
It's going to be really short and sweet.
Yeah.
The old adage, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach him how to fish, he eats for life.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why we're not doing that with homeless and the drug addicts and everyone else.
Okay.
If they want all these units built for themselves, why aren't they able to do something as long as they're mentally stable and they're healthy enough?
Okay.
But I don't understand why we keep giving things. What is the carrot to make them go out and have a life? They have no self-esteem.
Right. So what are you talking about? Something like, some people used to promote workfare, for example. That if you're collecting social assistance, you should work for it.
Of course.
You believe in that? Like if you're on welfare and there's work to be done, you're going to do it, or you're not going to get your welfare check. Would you?
The problem with welfare, as I see it, is Grandpa was on it, Dad was on it, I'm on that. It seems to just never end.
Like I think we came pretty close to doing that when Mike Harris was in power. I think he was seriously thinking about doing something like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, We can only hope. I went to.
We can only hope.
rehabs.
Really? We can only hope. Yeah.
I went to 4 rehabs in my life. I went on my own. I knew I had to do it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing lacking with these people is self-esteem, and to make them feel good about themselves, they
Right.
got to have a job. They've got to feel like they're contributing, and if they don't, they stay on welfare generation after generation.
All right. I mean, I guess that sounds easy. I don't know if it's that easy. Greg has just moved to the market. Is that right, Greg?
Yes.
And
we sold our house a year ago. We moved down here in September last year, and it's been quite an experience. We moved into a condo on Rideau Street, and it's Rideau and Cumberland. And I think the very first night we were here, we can almost set the clock by it. By around 8 p.m., you start to hear the 911 calls going out, because they're 911 because it's like, ambulance, police, and fire going down Cumberland, down into one of the shelter areas.
Right.
And it's hour and a half later, another one. Hour and a half later, another one. And it's like you're going to bed hearing these things going over and over again. And it's, something has to be done with that. And on top of that then is when if we need to go, let's say, up to Shoppers Drug Mart or to Loblaws on Rideau Street, I was hearing another gentleman talking about the store. Used to be a Max, but it's it's the same thing with, as he said. It's like you walk by there. My wife will not walk by there unless I come with her, because you're
talking about the larger Loblaws up on Rideau Street there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Either whether you're on the north side, on that side, or on the south side, walking past Shoppers Drug Mart, it's basically people there shooting up. There's needles lying around everywhere, and it's like something has to be done about that, because it's not comfortable for somebody who isn't big and strong and that can walk by.
Like, how long ago did you move there? Do you feel?
We moved there in September last year, in 21.
Okay, so you've been there a year. You don't have to tell me, but I'd just be curious to know how much you pay in property tax.
So we were renting. So
you're renting.
We sold our house, and our intention was to, this big dream about riding the market, because we thought it was way too high, and then perhaps buying a place. And
because there are people, like, condominiums in the Byward market are not cheap.
Nope.
In addition to the fees, which can be substantial, there are people who are paying big property tax. Who want to live in the market because they like the vibe of the market. They like being close to everything. Light rail is there. The grocery store is there.
It is, but it isn't as comfortable as I thought it would be.
But who's advocating on their behalf?
Yeah,
is what I would ask.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I say, like, living in this place is not as fun as I thought it would be.
Okay.
And it's because it's like, you're walking out and it just feels.
Do you think, let me ask you, I lived in the Byward market for many, many years, and I worked in the Byward market for 20 years.
Yeah.
I never felt as though it was dangerous. Does it feel dangerous now? But I'm a man, right? So
in our area, it does feel a bit, even to me, it does feel a little bit dangerous.
Really? Okay.
And definitely to the wife. And it's but I mean, right at Cumberland and Rideau, we're at the epicenter of all three shelters.
Yeah, you're right there. You're right in the zone.
Right in the center of it. So it's like, for her to walk right across Cumberland from our place to go to Tim Hortons, I'm advertising way too many places.
That's okay.
So for her to walk across that street, she's harassed, and they will actually follow her into Tim Hortons, harassing her for money.
Well, you think about this. Let's just think about this, and we'll wrap it up, the Talkback Hour.
Yeah.
On King Edward near Clarence, there used to be a Tim Hortons there. It's an African barbecue place now.
Okay,
there used to be a Tim Hortons there.
Yeah.
Their first move, it's right next to the Shepherds.
Yep.
They first moved, they had to get rid of the bathrooms.
Yep.
No bathrooms anymore. And then Tim Hortons just pulled up stakes and left. I don't know how, every Tim Hortons I've ever been to has been very busy. That one was so bad, the company shut it down.
Yeah.
All right, we got to go. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What an hour that was. My goodness. I think I would take calls for another hour on that, but I won't. On to happier things. Steve Warren, on a very busy weekend ahead in sports. We have Senators hockey to talk about, National Football League as well. Rob Snow Show, City News.
Next time on Simply Cooking by New Chef, I'm sharing some of my Italian family secrets. Come join me and see what they are while I prepare a traditional Italian pork feast.
I think our schools need better resources. Teachers need to be paid better. I think that there should be programs for Black people that prioritize our needs. And I think the curriculum needs to be adjusted to reflect all peoples, not just one kind of person. And they should also invest a lot of money in programs, after-school programs that are not like relevant in 1990, but are relevant today.
I'm Julian Armour from Music and Beyond. Join us for a new show this spring on Rogers called Music and Beyond Presents.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Focus better.
Partner better.
Sleep better.
Breathe better.
Love better. Work better. Friend better. Unwind better.
Everything gets better when you get active.
Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It's Friday, September 23rd. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 7 degrees, 6 in Smiths Falls, and here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. It is a Category 3 hurricane pounding Bermuda with heavy rain and winds as it is sweeping by the North Atlantic island. Fiona on track to move into waters off southeastern Nova Scotia late tonight. It will still be a very powerful storm. Coastal areas of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, along with PEI, expected to experience wind gusts over 150 and 200 millimeters of rain through this storm. And another major concern is not from the air, but from the ocean. Here's City News reporter Steve Gow.
A massive storm surge will thrash most coastlines in eastern Nova Scotia, the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and other parts of the region. Coinciding with near high tide on Saturday morning, Fiona's arrival could wash out roads, cause significant erosion and flooding, with up to 12-meter high waves expected to slam into most coastal regions in Atlantic Canada. For City News, I'm Steve Gow.
City News time, 11:03, and now your local forecast. Here's meteorologist Jill Taylor.
It's a cool start to our Friday. Temperatures close to the freezing mark in some areas. The high today just 13 degrees, sun and cloud, a brisk wind out of the northwest. Clear and continuing cool tonight down to 5, and for the weekend, sunshine a bit warmer Saturday 18, some showers on Sunday and 15. For today, the high 13.
And right now in Ottawa, 7 degrees, it's 6 in Smiths Falls. The union that has education workers in its fold has begun a strike vote to back their contract demands. City News reporter Richard Southern has more with the CUPE president.
We're talking here not about a union representing teachers. CUPE represents 55,000 so-called education workers. So these are early childhood educators, school administrators, bus drivers, custodians, and the like. CUPE President Laura Walton says voting on a strike already underway.
Just 10 hours ago, one of my 55,000 coworkers cast the first ballot just after midnight, opening a historic strike vote that will continue until October 2nd.
With neither side presenting new offers and you're holding a strike vote, it seems to me like a strike is almost inevitable. Am I wrong about that, Laura?
Well, you know what, Richard? It's funny, before we started this morning, I said, I expect Richard's going to ask me something about this. So interestingly enough, Richard, we actually provided some counter proposals with the proviso that we were willing to withdraw items should they meet us halfway. They refused to meet us halfway, so now we're back to where we were in the beginning.
All right, both sides really digging in their heels, it sounds like. This strike vote is going to continue until Monday, October 3rd, at which point the vote will be revealed. Richard Southern, City News.
City News time, 11:04. A NASA spacecraft is going head-to-head with a wayward asteroid.
A spacecraft named DART will zero in on the asteroid Monday, intent on slamming it head-on at 14,000 miles per hour. The impact should be just enough to nudge the asteroid into a slightly tighter orbit around its companion space rock, demonstrating that if that asteroid was headed to Earth, we would stand a fighting chance of diverting it. Thomas Zurbuchen is with NASA.
These threats are real, and I think what makes this time special is we can do something about it.
Cameras and telescopes will watch the crash, but it will take days or even weeks to find out if it actually changed the orbit. I'm Shelley Adler.
And I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's a pillar of community opinion.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
In sports, Steve Warren is back. The Senators are back. Training camp is underway, and Steve Warren, host of the Sens Nation podcast, is with us this morning on the Rob Snow Show on City News. Morning, Steve.
Good morning, Rob.
Well, you know, Steve, I'm looking at the Ottawa Senators here on Google. Senators versus Maple Leafs tomorrow, 1 p.m. Senators versus Maple Leafs tomorrow, 7 p.m. So my Saturday, I will tell this to my lovely wife right now, is spoken for. And there will also be an extra screen because the Red Blacks are playing. Oh, by the way, there's also President's Cup golf, I believe. I may not see my wife at all. But nevertheless, what an excellent opportunity, Steve, because the only person I know who hates the Leafs more than me is you. So we get our hate on early.
We sure do, and it's a nice thing, you know, right out of the gate. You can amp up your hate. I know the Sens are out there, and the Leafs are going to be out there, and they're preparing for the new season ahead. I think it's important for guys like you and me, Rob, to really, you know, practice our hate for the coming regular season.
That's right. This is kind of like training camp for Leaf haters. But Steve, look, it's so exciting. I mean, an epic offseason with major contract announcements, of course, and exciting free agents added to the lineup, big trades. What are you thinking about as training camp is underway?
Well, the changes that this team has made, like you talked about, I mean, right now, how can you not be excited about that line of DeBrincat, Stützle, and Giroux? I mean, that's a number one line on a lot of teams, and it might be the number one line on this team now. Who knows? But to have that top six, the way they've got that structured, it's going to be really exciting because, yes, they didn't go out and get that top four defenseman, that one more top four defenseman, but they did add Jake Sanderson, who looks like the real deal. But any shortcomings they have on their blue line, I think will be potentially made up for by the fact this team's always going to have the puck when you look at that top six. So that's probably the biggest thing for me, the improvements that they've made And just a feeling like a dark cloud has been lifted off this franchise in so many ways.
Okay, so we've talked a lot in the last few weeks, Steve, about this top six. So why don't we go through the how you see the rest of the depth chart for the forwards kind of shaping up. I look at this third line, for example. Who would you see as possible third line members for the Ottawa Senators right now?
Well, I think if all things are equal and Alex Formenton gets re-signed by the club, and we all know that connection to the Hockey Canada investigation is always looming. But I mean, if all things are equal and they get him re-signed, then it's, I think, quite clearly going to be Formenton, Pinto, and on that right side, newcomer Matthew Joseph, who came over straight up for Nick Paul, the point game guy in the 11 games that he played here. So I think that one is pretty definite. If Formenton can't go, then you've got a newcomer in Tyler Mott who will compete for that role. And hey, maybe even if he gets healthy in time, Ridley Gregg can be considered for a potential role in that third line as well.
Okay. And say fourth line grinder type guys, Steve, who do you put out there?
I think right now, I know Derek Brassard is here, and a lot of people are fans of him from his first go-around with the Sens. But I think at the end of the day, it'll line up exactly the way they thought it would, say, a month ago. And I think that's going to be Dylan Gambrell in the middle. And then you got Parker Kelly and Austin Watson on the wings. The thing for Parker Kelly is that he can go up and down from the minors with not having to clear waivers, I think. So that might cost him a job at this stage of the game, because there are some veteran guys here that might compete. But right now, I think the organization really likes Kelly there. So that's how I see the bottom six playing out.
Okay. Not a lot of jobs available for the forward positions, really, when it comes right down to it, I guess. I guess it all depends on what happens with this Mott/Formenton thing, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then, how's the D shaping up? What's that look like right now?
Well, there's the rub right now. Your top four is completely set. You're going to have Travis Hamonic with newcomer Jake Sanderson. And Hamonic spoke at length about Sanderson, like just almost shouting about this kid. This is a guy in Hamonic that's been around the league for a decade now. And he's talking about Sanderson like he is truly something special.
Wow.
So that will be one of the pairings. And I think Sens fans should be excited about the fact that Thomas Chabot is going to be playing with Artem Zub. And because I think that's what's been missing is from Chabot's game. Like, Chabot has been the best defenseman for several seasons now, but I don't think he's quite at his best because he has to log so many minutes. And he's frequently been taken away from Zub. I think Chabot is at his best with Zub. So I think that's a very good thing. There were some people who thought that maybe Zub would be a better pair with Sanderson while he gets his feet wet in the NHL. But I think Hamonic is a better player than people give him credit for at this point in his career. Because I think last season when he came here in the deal, he was not a healthy guy. Now he is healthy, and we'll get a feel for where his game is at early on in the season.
Okay. And goal. I mean, we know about the goalies. Cam Talbot's, he's the number one. No doubt about it. He's an established number one goalie. He's making the most money. But Forsberg, on what was in the end not a very good team, he was pretty good last year on a pretty bad team. So that's okay. Sorry, Steve.
I might take issue with that. I think that Forsberg is actually going to get the first chance to start.
Really?
I mean, unless he's awful in the preseason, I think that this organization, given how popular Forsberg is, that he's got a longer-term contract than Talbot does. Talbot's entering his final year of his contract, and I think about age. I think it's an open competition, but I think Forsberg is going to he's going to be the guy that gets to step up to the plate first as the number one.
Okay. Do the Sens have a tough guy? Do they have a tough guy? The guy you send out there when you gotta settle a score or send a message or something, Steve?
Wow, that's a good one. I think Scott Sabrin would be the closest thing you have to it.
Okay.
There's not really anybody up front other than Brady Tkachuk that you'd expect to drop him, and you don't want him spending much time in the penalty box. I thought he had way too many penalty minutes. I think he was I mean, it must have been in triple digits as far as penalty minutes last year, and that's too much.
I mean, I know it's not the NHL of old, and not a lot of teams would have a quote-unquote tough guy or a goon or whatever, but I do wonder about team toughness. You do want team toughness, though, right? So
yeah, and I think they have that. Austin Watson could throw them too, and the guys are physical, and it's a different league, like you said. You know, you and I have a certain vintage where you can go back 30 years and see the leading penalty minute guys, you know, flirting with 350 penalty minutes. That just doesn't exist anymore. You've got to be able to play the game, and if you could drop them on top of that, then great. And I think there's going to be guys like Tyler Boucher in the future that will help in that area. Guys that can play the game but can also drop them. And it's just a different league now. And fighting, you know, a lot of people still love that angle of the game, the toughness, the settling of scores. You know, referees don't always get it right, so you got to settle scores yourself. But there's no question that I think it's on the way out eventually, one day. It's still there,
right?
But I think the game is evolving.
Okay, let's move along. The highest paid player in the National Hockey League for now is Nathan McKinnon. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I'm at the stage, Rob, where I'm fully numb to salaries in sports today. So Let me preface my comments with that. With that said, I think right now, if you're drafting a team to win the Stanley Cup, McKinnon would be one of the first players a lot of people would choose. And so I think, you know, he's a terrific player and as good a choice as any. Because I think what sets him apart from other elite scorers around the league is not just that he's an elite scorer. He's got that strength. He's got the speed. His compete level is just ridiculous. He almost looks like he's in a trance out there. He's so fixated on winning.
Yeah.
So if you're going to pay a guy that kind of money, Nate McKinnon is as good a choice as anyone.
He's a pretty good partner for Crosby in the Tim Hortons commercials, too. Should not forget that. Good sidekick there. Good sidekick. All right. Red Blacks host the Argos tomorrow. I guess the question is, you know, are the Red Blacks ever going to win at home again? It's unbelievable that they can still draw the kinds of crowds that they can for the Ottawa Red Blacks, given their performance at home, Steve.
Yeah, hopefully they can get one on Saturday night. I mean, it's been uncanny. I think they're a better team with Nick Arbuckle under center than Caleb Evans rather.
Yeah.
So I think it's a better looking team offensively. But yeah, the fans, you know, they deserve to go home with a W. It's been like over a calendar year now since they actually did. So
that's crazy.
I think they can win. They've beaten Toronto before. They almost pulled one out in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, and the offense, like I say, looks better. So, and they need it too. It's must-win time for the Red Blacks.
It's
4 points back on Montreal for second.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness it's the East, eh, Steve?
Yeah, they're going to have to. I mean, Montreal and Hamilton meet tonight, so one of those teams is going to build their lead on Ottawa, so it's must-win time.
Okay. It is week 3 in the National Football League. Okay, and both of our teams, Steve goes for the Packers, I go for the Broncos. 1-1 after week 2. Your team looked good in winning. Mine didn't. Every bit as bad as the first week when they lost, but they just happened to be playing a worse team. When you think about must-see games this weekend, I think one of them involves your team. It's got to be Packers and Bucks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay, I'm wondering about Tom Brady. There's all these discussions about what's his future hold. Is Giselle saying, okay, enough's enough? But right now, I mean, Tampa Bay's offense looked really ordinary last week, and they're 2-0, yes, but they've got injuries. The top receiver just got suspended for coming to Tom Brady's defense in a skirmish, and Mike Evans is not going to play in this one. So with all the injuries and that fact, that's going to be a tough one for Tom Brady, and so it's going to be an interesting game between the battle of the Bays, as they say.
Yep, and I think another one has to be it's Dolphins and Bills. That'll be a good one, Steve. I think Dolphins and Bills. That's an early one on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's one of your must-see games for sure. If I was to pick one, that would be the game of the week for me. And it's, both teams are 2-0, and both teams look really good. And the two quarterbacks have just been off the charts. If you told me two quarterbacks that were elite in the AFC, I'd say, okay, of course, Josh Allen of the Bills. There's a guy with 7 touchdowns through 2 games, 75% completion percentage, 600 yards throwing the ball. I would assume that he would be one of them, but I didn't think Tua Tagovailoa, and I'm sure I've destroyed that pronunciation. But he's actually even better, 739 yards passing in 2 games and 7 touchdowns. So that's going to be a great aerial show, and I think definitely one to watch.
Broncos, 49ers. Broncos have to be a lot better, or they're going to be 1-2 to start the season, because they have it's been ugly for the Broncos so far, even with their new quarterback, Russell.
Yeah, I mean, you got the advantage too that the 49ers are adjusting now to a new starting quarterback of their own. I mean, Trey Lance was the guy that started out of the gate, and so he's out for the season now.
Yeah.
So that will help maybe a little, but that's going to be a tough one, I think, for your Broncos. I think the 49ers are a better team.
All right, Steve Warren, enjoy what is going to be a great sports weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too, man.
Yeah. Sens Nation podcast on all your podcasting platforms and the Steve Warren Project. It's 11:19. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
What are we doing about COVID? Seems like the communications have been all about how everything's opening up, and yet here in Ottawa, we're experiencing our 7th wave, so a bit of a contradiction there.
We're in infinity. Hi, my name is Isabel. I'll be performing as part of Encore Ottawa 3. I hope you can tune in and catch it on Rogers TV.
It's about sharing and caring. It's about doing and belonging. It's about living life to its fullest. And it's about laughing out loud. We are L'Arche Canada, and we're about witnessing and sharing the gifts of all people. Learn more about us today.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally. And that's when I first saw Wilf. And I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.
Enjoy the fresh outdoors. Play an important role in the lives of school-age children. Get paid to make a difference in your community. Become a crossing guard. We are currently recruiting crossing guards for the school year. We offer a competitive wage with various perks and opportunities for bonuses. Join the Ottawa Safety Council in keeping kids safe in the nation's capital. Find out more at crossing-guard.ca.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
And the House of Commons question period on Friday happens in the morning. This is Pierre Poilievre, right now, live, House of Commons.
Food price increases, with reports of students in Toronto forced to live in homeless shelters. The government's plan is to raise taxes on paychecks, on gas, on heat, and on other essentials. In fact, they want to triple the carbon tax. Now is not the time for a tax hike. Will the government cancel these planned tax increases?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, it is incredibly unfortunate that the leader of the Conservative Party has tried to tackle inflation and tackle affordability by giving investment advice on highly speculative assets. For those Canadians who did follow the advice of the leader of the opposition, I am truly sorry that you lost your life savings. But as long as he's giving that investment advice, I think Canadians should ask, if we can't trust him to be our stockbroker, why would we want him to be our Prime Minister?
That's right.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent.
This is Gerard Deltel.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if there's something that everyone agrees on, it's that food is essential. But currently, unfortunately, inflation is directly affecting food with an 11% increase. We need to do something. For months, we, the Conservatives, have been asking the government to lower taxes, like all the other countries in the G7, but the government has refused to do so. At the very least, could the Liberals commit to not increasing taxes, as they're planning to do in the next few months? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I completely agree. Canadians need us right now. There is a great deal of economic uncertainty due to global inflation. We need to be there to support Canadians. And that is exactly why we are going to double the GST credit. Will the Conservatives support that measure, which will put money directly back into Canadians' pockets? The Honourable Member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins-Lévis. Happy Friday, Mr. Speaker. The riding I represent goes all the way from the St. Lawrence to the border. There is a large rural area there. And with the current high prices of gas, it's very hard for my constituents who need to get in the car to get to work, buy groceries, or access health care. This government could do something to help them. Cancel the planned tax hikes. Will this government have the courage to do so? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Yesterday, we learned from the new Deputy Conservative leader that their party would be supporting our GST tax credit. And yet another day, another flip-flop from the Conservatives. The member for Grenville Thousand Islands, Rideau Lake, said that he might support that measure. So perhaps the two of them could convince the new Conservative leader to put money into Canadians' pockets. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean.
Changement climatique. 145 000.
Mr. Speaker.
Okay, let's leave that into the questioning from the block now. After the questions from the opposition. So you see, the early themes for the Conservatives, it's cost of living, inflation, gas and groceries, and why are you going to raise taxes? Like the carbon tax and the payroll taxes, employment insurance premiums, CPP contributions. Why are you doing that? And on the other side, the Liberal response, I don't know if this is landing. They're trying. I mean, they're like robots on the Liberal side, repeating and parroting this line from the PMO that if you followed Poilievre's advice, you would have lost your entire life savings by putting your money into Bitcoin. You could say the same thing, I guess, if you put your life savings into Shopify, because only an idiot would put out their life savings into Bitcoin or Shopify. Their entire life savings. But nevertheless, that's the line, and they're sticking to it. And those are some highlights from the question period. The morning question period on a Friday here on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
Have you heard the news? City News has even more to talk about.
Hello,
I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
The houseless crisis, because it really is a crisis down here on Rideau Street. There is not enough shelters for men especially, and we need to be helping our most vulnerable.
We have so many people sleeping in the street. There's no facilities for them. There's nobody that helps them. There's a harm reduction program that they have where they give them drugs. And they give them drugs in abundance and paraphernalia in abundance. We see it all over the place. We have to pay people to pick up the needles and stuff. We're not taking care of the dignity of the human person, and that's what Ottawa has to do.
$20. And Maggie, Mrs. Calabash, come into my kitchen. A quick mayonnaise, egg yolks, garlic, Dijon mustard, lemon juice, olive oil, immersion blender. Go down, come up, voila, mayonnaise. Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. Yeah.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Hi guys, my name is Vi and I'm a part of Encore Ottawa 3. My set at the Meridian Theatre is coming out this week and I hope you tune in.
It's been 2 years later.
City News 101.1 everywhere.
It's Friday, September 23rd. Good morning, I'm Danielle Bain. Right now in Ottawa and Smiths Falls, a little bit chilly, 8 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. Here's what's making news this hour. Hurricane Fiona is forecasted to bring severe winds as much as 200 millimeters of rain to Atlantic Canada and eastern Quebec this weekend. Environment Canada meteorologist says the potentially historic storm is also expected to cause widespread power outages on the east coast. Fiona is pounding Bermuda this morning and is on track to reach Nova Scotia waters tonight before passing through the province's eastern mainland, Cape Breton, and Prince Edward Island tomorrow. Then Fiona will move on to Quebec's lower North Shore and southeastern Labrador early on Sunday. Ontario education workers represented by CUPE are set to start voting today on whether to strike, and their union is recommending they vote yes. The province's 5 major education unions are all in the midst of bargaining new contracts with the government. CUPE has made Ontario's initial offer public, calling it insulting. Laura Walton is the president of CUPE's Ontario School Board of Unions and says the lack of progress over the last 2 days of bargaining firmed up why the strike vote is necessary. Education Minister Stephen Lecce has criticized CUPE for planning strike votes since before the first offer was even tabled. And in sports, the Jays fell to the Rays last night by a score of 10-5. Toronto sits just 1 game up on the Rays in the wild card race. Game 2 of the 3-game series against Tampa goes tonight at 7 o'clock. You can tune in on 101.1 FM or 1310 AM. City News Time, 11:32. I'm Danielle Bain. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Strong voice.
Strong opinions.
Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
And everyone has assembled, and it is time for Queen's Park Week in Review. Although there is not much happening at Queen's Park. There's more happening in Kemptville at the International Plowing Match. There's more politicking happening in Kemptville than there is at the Ontario Legislature these days. But nevertheless, Robin Martin is back with us, progressive conservative from Eglinton Lawrence. That's the riding. Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
Yeah, John Fraser is the Liberal MPP for Ottawa South. Hello, John.
Morning, Rob.
Yeah, good to hear from you, John. And Joel Harden, New Democrat, MPP, Ottawa Centre. Good morning, Joel.
Morning, Rob.
And you'll just have to bear with me for 5 seconds while I go and turn down the television, okay? Because I was watching the House of Commons question period. So just hold on. That's kind of embarrassing. Okay. I'm such a political nerd.
I didn't want to say it.
As we speak, CUPE education workers are having a strike vote. Robin Martin, the union says it's just part of the process, part of collective bargaining. The education minister has a different opinion, and he says these education unions are charging ahead toward a strike. So I don't think after 2 school years disrupted by COVID, the year before that there was labor trouble. I don't think parents are in any mood for any more labor strife. So how can that be avoided, in your opinion, Robin Martin?
Well, thank you. I agree with you. I don't think parents or children are in any mood for a labor strike. They really need the stability of having the classes go ahead. And so we've been clear that we are fighting to keep students in class without interruption right through till June with a full educational experience. And as you pointed out, the unions seem to be charging ahead to a strike. We really think it's unacceptable in the circumstances. And CUPE has made it pretty clear that they're going to strike if their demand for a 52% increase in pay isn't delivered. That is a huge amount of money. It is comparable to the combined educational budgets of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia, and over like a $21 billion ask, I think $22 billion ask. So instead of that, we want the unions to come back to the table, to stay at the table, and to keep negotiating. That will keep the kids in the class, and we think that's the most important thing to do. It's just been such a difficult few years for parents and students, and we've got to work together to make sure that they don't have to have more disruption.
So we're talking about 55,000 workers in the public education system. They're not teachers. They do everything else. When I speak with the CUPE representatives, they tell me we're the lowest paid workers in the education system. The demand is 11.7%. I don't think anybody thinks the union's going to get 11.7%. There must be... Sorry?
It's 8%. Robin's wrong. It's not 52%. It's 8%.
Well, they're asking, the ask is 11.7% a year, right? Annually. Yeah. Okay. So nevertheless, there has to be some middle ground here. We have inflation running at 7%, and the counter has been something like 3%. So there has to be some middle ground here. But Joel, you sound like you're itching to get in there. So go ahead. We want labor peace. Everybody wants labor peace. So.
Well, you got to pay people for what they're worth, Rob. We pay bus drivers, custodians, receptionists, poverty wages in Ontario to work in one of the third of the starting salary of an MPP. So it's up to Robin's government. If they want to, finger wag, they used to say, remember on Labor Day, Rob, all the Conservatives saying we're working for workers. Well, you're paying poverty wages, $39,000 a year for people who drive our kids to school safely, clean the school, EAs who work with kids with disabilities, and the government has more cash because things are costing more and more taxes are coming into the government. They should be paying people what they're worth and not making up numbers. I just got off the phone with a negotiator, Rob, 8%. If politicians, most of Robin's colleagues got a $16,000 pay increase this year. That should be going to caretakers, bus drivers, EAs. You're absolutely not delivering for workers, and you should be rolling up your sleeves and negotiating, Robin, and not making up numbers in the media.
You're the one making up numbers, Joel.
No, I'm not. I'm talking to people at the table, Robin.
Okay. John Fraser?
Well, look.
The goal is stability. There's been such instability in education now for not just COVID, 3 years now. 3 years. Yeah. Okay? Well, parents have had just about enough of this. So.
Well, we did have a strike a number of years ago. That wasn't good, and that was in advance of the pandemic. So we do need stability in schools. The reality is a strike vote is a normal part of the process. It's part of the show of support for the bargaining, the people who are doing the bargaining on behalf of the union, that their people are behind them and they're willing to have some skin in the game. It's totally normal. My advice to the minister and anybody who's in bargaining this, the deals get done at the table. That's where you get them done. They don't get done in the media. And so trying to inflate numbers or create fear is just not the right thing to do. Get the deal done at the table. That's what parents want. They don't want to hear all this. Excuse me, Robin. They don't want to hear all this stuff. Okay? And they don't want to have...
I think somebody's at an event. Is somebody at an event?
Somebody's at an event.
Yeah.
And so, here's something to remember. They just released the public accounts. And the government spent $1.4 billion less in education. $1.4 billion.
Okay.
So, there's kind of a lot of puffery going on here. Families in my riding, they just want a deal to get done. Get to the table, get the deal done, stop this media nonsense.
Okay, stop the media nonsense. Now, our correspondent in Toronto, Richard Southern, is reporting by way of the public accounts. The Ford government, this is from Twitter 18 minutes ago, Robin. I'm sure you're going to get holy heck for this. Ford government has released public accounts 2021-2022. It showed the government ended the year with a $2.1 billion surplus.
There you go.
Which went to reducing net debt. Education spending was $1.4 billion below budget. Budget for more direct payments to parents increased to $365 million. But I think that's the figure that John is talking about, $1.4 billion below budget. What's going on? Just a numbers game? What's going on, Robin? What's going on there?
Yeah, well, public accounts are not forward-looking, they're backward-looking. So, it's really due to the resilience of the Ontario economy and higher-than-expected inflation that we have a bit of a bump at the fiscal year end. It's good. The economy is doing better than anticipated. But look, this is what the surplus is not unique to Ontario. It's happening in Quebec, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia. They also have surpluses this year. But it's a point-in-time surplus as a result of these extraordinary circumstances, and it cannot really be counted on for a view of what's going to happen in the future, what revenues will be in the future. Everybody knows we're in really uncertain economic times, and you don't build a long-term plan based on these short-term uncertain economic circumstances. John pointed out that we filed our public accounts today, and I'm proud that it's the 5th year in a row that we got a clean audit from the Attorney General. The Liberals didn't even go out every quarter to tell us what was happening in our public accounts. Sometimes they didn't bother to issue a press release.
Okay. But let me jump in here. Your government tabled a budget last month, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And at the time, the government said the deficit is $13.5 billion. Fiscal year ended March. And today, we have a $2.1 billion surplus. I mean, this is... Come on. Deficit, surplus, these are supposed to be motherhood and apple pie issues for conservatives.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's a $15 billion discrepancy. What the heck is going on?
As I pointed out, it's global uncertainty, it's inflation, it's economic resiliency, bringing in more money. But look, we're doing everything we can to help people with the cost of living. We're eliminating the cost of renewing license plates. We brought down the gas tax, which actually resulted in people having more money in their pocket, and resulted in inflation coming down a bit because of the gas tax.
All right. Who said, oh, come on? Who said that? Joel? Okay, go ahead, Joel.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Robbins College has voted themselves a $16,000 pay increase. 88.
We did not.
Nice for a conservative politician there, Rob, to get a $16,000 pay increase. But you know who needs one? Bus drivers. Because you know what we had at the start of school year this year, Rob? A shortage of bus drivers. And we are not giving them respect. We're not doing the same thing with custodians, EAs. The government this has been the case for several reports that we've seen, Rob. Financial accountability officers saying the same thing. They are taking money from the federal government. They're not spending it where it needs to go, and we're shortchanging our people. This is happening in healthcare. It's happening in education. So honestly, stop the theatrics in the media is my message to Minister Lecce. Roll up your sleeves, get to the table, pay people what they deserve.
Okay, but if I could just interrupt, you keep saying they voted themselves a raise. It says here, this is by way of Colin DeMello, Global News, who reports out of Queen's Park. Minister of Finance, that would be Mr. Bethlen Falvey, says he'll be introducing legislation to prevent MPPs from getting raises amid anxiety about the economy and affordability in the province.
Parliamentary assistance. That when you get that designation, you get a $16,000 pay increase. You can hardly find a Tory member in this government that doesn't have one of those. So they gave themselves a pay raise, and they're shortchanging bus drivers, custodians, and receptionists.
I'm sorry, Robin. Sorry, Robin.
That's the problem.
Robin?
Yes.
Can you clarify what?
Yes, the Liberals passed legislation in 2005 to say that when the province was in a surplus, MPPs would get an automatic pay raise, and our government has said this is not the time to be taking a pay raise. Other people are struggling with the cost of living, and it's appropriate that their representatives do as well. So there'll be no automatic pay increase. I'm a parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Health, and I have been for 5 years. I've had no pay increase. And I don't believe MPPs have had one for...
So you're not getting a $16,000 raise?
Robin, that's correct. But what you did is you gave almost all of your members a pay raise by creating more parliamentary assistants than you needed to, creating more positions inside the cabinet. And so that's fine.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
So, so it's just like, let's take care of our folks. That's fine. That's good. But just don't be...
highways, transit, hospitals, and critical infrastructure than any other government. We've increased base funding to hospitals by $5 billion.
Robin,
that's the nerve, John.
Just be clear about what you're doing. That's all. If the Minister of Finance is doing that, that's good. But don't pretend that your caucus is participating in any way in that. That's all I'm trying to say. And the other thing I want to say about the surplus is 2/3 of your surplus came on the backs of schools and our kids. Because $1.4 billion of that surplus came out of schools. That's exactly what happened. And now your ministers, out in the media trying to scare parents and families. And when you guys were the guys that took $1.4 billion out of education, and now you're patting yourself on the back for a $2.1 billion surplus. It's incredible.
Education spending
it's
every year,
absolutely incredible.
Over $600 million increase. Yeah. And we've given more money to parents, putting money directly in their pockets to help with cost of living, etc. So we're putting money directly in parents' pockets, and announced more today.
Hasn't happened yet.
$40 million.
Okay, we have to stop. We have to stop. And when everybody talks at once, nobody hears anything. When we come back, what the Financial Accountability Office is saying about the costs of climate change and what the government's plan is to deal with it. When we come back, Rob Snow Show, City News.
Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by local authors for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
You see a lot of these luxury rental apartments that are coming out, and if you're a single person, it makes it extremely challenging to afford just basic lifestyle needs.
On Friday's Daytime Ottawa, well, as you know, it's officially fall now, so that means everything pumpkin spice is going on. Well, we'll share some fabulous pumpkin spice recipes for you at home. And the Ottawa Auto Scale Contest is back. We'll give you all the details on that. And artist, producer, and yes, clothing designer Cody Coyote will be on the show. We'll talk about his brand new line. All that and more on Friday.
Think it's okay to drive high? Think again. Drug-impaired driving is as illegal as drunk driving, and in Ontario, the penalties are the same. If police suspect you're driving under the influence of drugs of any kind, or a combination of drugs and alcohol, and you fail a roadside test, your license will be suspended immediately for up to 30 days. You'll pay a penalty of $198. And you can be charged with a criminal offense of impaired driving, the same as alcohol. Driving high is never okay.
There we go.
He's going back in, okay?
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Flooding is causing widespread devastation in Pakistan. More than 1,000 people have died. 1/3 of the country is underwater, and 6 million people are in need of emergency assistance. The humanitarian coalition is responding to the crisis in Pakistan. You can help. Donate today at together.ca, and your donation will be matched by the Canadian government. That's together.ca, the humanitarian coalition. Together, saving more lives.
Join me for Season 3 of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. Whew, that was a lot. I think I need a nap.
I need to know that my voice matters and feel like my opinion is going to have an impact on our society and our youth.
Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Back with MPPs, Progressive Conservative Robin Martin, New Democrat Joel Harden from the Ottawa area, John Fraser's from the Ottawa area, Robin is from the Toronto area, but we don't hold that against her. Go Sens go. Go Red Blacks go, too. Yeah, it's a big Toronto-Ottawa sports weekend, so nevertheless. Climate change costs. According to the Financial Accountability Office, the effects of climate change will cost Ontario an extra $1.5 billion a year in the next few years just to maintain public transportation infrastructure. And by 2030, changes in extreme weather will mean climate-related costs will accumulate to a total of $13 billion. So what's the government's plan to fight climate change? Robin Martin.
Okay, well, we take it very seriously, and we're taking serious action as a result. We initiated Ontario's first climate impact assessment in 2020, and Ontario has reduced greenhouse gas emissions more than any other province or territory in Canada. Under the leadership of Premier Ford, Ontario is partnering with industry and making major investments in clean steel, public transit, and electric vehicles. We've contributed $500 million to ArcelorMittal Dofasco to replace their coal-fed coke ovens. That takes almost 1 million cars off the road. We've also introduced targeted nation-leading measures like increasing the amount of renewable content in regular-grade gasoline.
Right. Who's at the plowing match?
Yeah, that's the equivalent of taking another 300,000
Who is at the plowing match? Is somebody at the plowing match right now?
And, we're investing $3 in transit investments for every dollar we're investing in highways and things, but we're doing all of that to make sure that people are not stuck idling in traffic. So we take climate change very seriously, and we're making sure that people have the support they need for so they can use transit more, which is important.
All right. Is somebody at the plowing match right now?
No, it's me. I'm at the climate rally for Catherine McKinney.
Oh, you're at the climate rally. Okay.
I'm not talking.
Holy cow! It sounds rather boisterous there.
Well, people are excited. We could have a new mayor that actually wants to engage in climate action, Rob.
Yes, but I suppose at what cost, Joel? $250 million for bike lanes, for crying out loud, Joel.
Well, but this is what the FAO just told you, Rob. There's a cost for inaction. Talk to the people in Constance Bay and Cumberland. Talk to all of us who saw our neighbors suffer in the May windstorm. There's a cost for inaction. And, Robin has talked about industry-led solutions, working with industry to do things. That's part of the puzzle. But we need billions in infrastructure, like cycling, like the electrification of public transit, like syncing up our power grid, Rob, with Quebec so we can draw on emissions-free, waste-free.
Well, we recommended that. We recommended that to the Ontario Liberals many years ago. Yasser Naqvi ruled that out because we didn't want to be beholden to Quebec separatists for our electricity in Ontario, according to Yasser at the time. So.
Well, I'll reserve judgment on my predecessor, Rob, and just say it's about our kids. And if we actually want to have clean, green energy, we're one of the best places in the province to immediately hook up to a source of power that's more affordable and better for the future. So why wouldn't we do it? It's just the nuclear industry and their lobbyists that don't want us to do it, Rob, but we have to make the right decision.
All right. John Fraser? Go ahead, John Fraser.
Joel is right. It is for our kids. Ontario, we've been saying for a long time, Ontario, this government needs a plan for climate change. They don't have one. Actually, they're just in court right now about that. And the lawyers for the government literally described the government's climate action plan as more like a fancy brochure. And they're right. So the other piece I want to remind Robin of is that actually the reduction of, or the elimination of coal in generating electricity more than a decade ago is the reason we've reduced our carbon emissions so much. And right now, because the government shut down a bunch of green energy and canceled a bunch of projects, they're going to have to start opening up more gas-fired plants, which is going to increase.
Well, you know what? The fact that gas-fired power plants are going to have to continue in the province of Ontario shows what an abject failure your government was, John Fraser.
No, I wouldn't say so.
You know what? I don't know. You know what, John? I was actually going to talk about this morning, given what Councillor McKenney announced yesterday, and Councillor McKenney could become the next mayor of Ottawa. I don't know how many billions of dollars that your government spent on solar farms and solar contracts to private energy companies and sold off half of one of our energy utilities, publicly owned energy utilities. I know the Auditor General said that the people of Ontario overspent by $38 billion. $38 billion. Can you imagine what we could have done with healthcare with $38 billion? But I can tell you this, according to the... Let me finish. According to the Ontario Electricity System Operator, the IESO, which is a government agency that tracks this, those solar farms, you know how much electricity those solar farms were producing this morning, John? Zero. And you know how much all the wind farms, all of those wind farms, and we're building one right now, the Nation Wind Farm. You know how much energy those all across Ontario, all of those wind farms, privately owned, by the way, 5% of all of Ontario's electricity.
Well,
this morning. That is the legacy of the Ontario Liberal Party in Ontario.
Well, once they shut down Pickering, all those green energy projects that we have and that we don't have right now will contribute greatly.
Sure. We should build more solar farms because what's 0 plus 0, John?
Well, the $38 billion, well, the ones that were supposed to be built that we spent $250 million canceling, that money could have been spent better elsewhere as well, too. And if you want to talk about the $38 billion,
it's too bad we don't have, you know what?
Debt that governments, from 1990 on.
Joel likes to come on and talk about all the hardship. Can you imagine, Joel, if we had the money that they spent on those canceled gas plants? Imagine if we had that money back, $2.8 billion. Get you a lot of health care, get you a lot of social housing. $2.8 billion.
There's two ways to do politics, right?
Yeah.
We can look back and snipe each other for the things we wish we could have done better, or we could look forward. And right now, our neighbors in Quebec are reaching out a hand to us saying, hey, buy our power.
Sure.
It's a third of the cost of what we spend on gas-fired electrical. So whether you're a conservative, liberal, or Democrat, or anybody else, it's value for money. It's no waste. It's no emissions. Well, you know what I think, Rob? Why don't we do this? Why don't we run an extension cord from the War Museum over to Gatineau and just import some of that as a spectacle? You and I could do it together to show the government, like, let's just do this. And then
I don't know. It's too bad. It's too bad that we had 15 years of green lunacy from the Liberals.
Exactly.
We have in Ontario. We don't need Quebec's power. We have 241 hydro dams in Ontario and 66 hydro producing stations in Ontario. Why don't we use that? But instead we had a government that introduced legislation that said when the wind blows, we have to turn off those stations.
So,
just the height of green lunacy.
When the rivers go down, those hydro dams don't work as well. And it's actually not enough to power our province. And what Joel is saying is true, is Quebec has surplus power. Yeah, we should get it. And my point in the whole thing is we're going to build more gas-fired plants. And if we're trying to reduce carbon emissions, that's the wrong way to go.
Well,
so the planning is the challenge, and the government doesn't have a plan for climate change, and that's all I was simply trying to say.
Sorry, Robin.
That's okay. I just would point out that the Liberals built all kinds of gas plants when they were in power, so I don't know why they don't like them now, but you don't invest for a couple of days and then tear the plant down after you spent all that money, but that's part of their green lunacy.
Okay, we gotta go. We gotta go. Have a good weekend, everybody. I'm sorry I got so fired up there. But,
all right.
Rob, I like the passion.
You know, when John talks about it, I'm flooded with bad memories when John talks about that stuff.
I know.
All right.